All right, welcome back in to There Will Be Bourbon. If you are not watching on YouTube, you're going to miss out on some visuals that my good friend, who I cherish and appreciate her different views on many things, but at least informed enough to share them, and that is Veronika. So welcome in.
Hey, I'm happy to be here.
Just to briefly tell you about Veronika. So we don't agree on much except for our chosen method of working out, which is CrossFit. So she is a CrossFitter. However, she's been doing it long enough that she's probably not going to tell you about it with everything that she says, right? So that's kind of a big misnomer. If you start out with CrossFit, you have to tell everybody about it. It's much like anything else. However, she's been doing it long enough. That's how we met once upon a time in good old Kuwait, CrossFit Arifjan in 2015. And aside from that, like I said, we don't really agree on much except our love for this country. And she has a very unique perspective and a lot of things that formulate, I guess, her opinions and her experiences to why she feels the way she does, which is exactly why I wanted to have her on. This is kind of what I talked about when I did sort of the introduction on what I thought this podcast would eventually be. She is a first-generation American. Both parents are from Mexico. And you said, how did your mom come here?
My mom crossed the border illegally once upon a time.
There we go. So that's can you say that? Probably not. So how many of you have a mom who crossed illegally? So that's fucking gangster, in my opinion. Especially to survive it, number one. So
she almost didn't. My grandmother pushed her down a hill. She almost didn't make it, but that was more just.
We might have to get your mom.
Her lack of athleticism.
Yeah. And then you said you're also a dog mom. So how many dogs do you currently have?
4 now. 4.
I got a ferret. But hey, I'm a criminal apparently because I'm in California with a ferret. So somebody come do something. No, I'm just.
Oh, is that illegal now?
It's illegal in California and New York. And so, I mean, fuck it. We might as well tell this story. So a few years ago, my daughter was out here living with me for school. And my brother and I had a ferret when we were younger. Not her age. I had it. He got it when he went to college, and then it kind of dumped it off on me while I was in high school. And he was great. Like, they're super fucking awesome pets. But when she was out here for like 7th grade at the time. And I was like, all right, I know she wants a pet, but I'm not getting a cat. I'm not getting a dog because I know I'm going to be the one stuck with them. And I'm just not home enough. I felt like it would be selfish of me to have those pets. So I was like, look, we'll get a fucking ferret because ferrets sleep all day, like 18 hours. They're super self-sufficient. They don't need a lot of attention other than when they're out. And if you want to do this, we'll do it. But we had to go to Reno, Nevada to smuggle it in. So I sat her down because she was 12 at the time. I was like, look, little girl, check it out.
So your ferret also crossed the border illegally?
Yes. So I was like, check this out, little girl. Look, I'm going to explain something to you. Okay. What we're going to do technically is illegal. And if you're not comfortable with us going across the border and getting this ferret and bringing it in to the state of California legally, let me know and we won't do it. Otherwise, like, this is a mission and we have to accomplish it. And I need you to just be supportive and on board. Okay. We're either deciding to do it or we're not. We can't turn back.
Ride or die. I like it.
Oh, Dad, it's cool. Let's go do it. I was like, yeah, fuck yeah. So we did. Once I picked her up in Nevada, we made my truck look like I was moving and I still had California tags. So when you came across the border to the it's like an agricultural inspection site. Anywhere you come into California, they have those, right? So you have to stop. Usually they only stop people with out-of-state tags. So I had a California tag and I remember we were driving through and I'm slowing down and the border agent is this female. She looked down at the tag and then she just waved us through and I was like, yep, high five the little girl and we smuggled in a ferret. So like Jay-Z once upon said, come and get me. But anyway.
If this podcast doesn't work out, you can always make a living as a coyote, apparently. It sounds like you're pretty good at this. Like you have a knack for it.
I'll probably start a whole other podcast on how to smuggle ferrets in. Might be only one episode before I get shut down, but.
You're the next Joe Exotic.
Trying to be the next Joe Rogan, but.
Oh, well, there you go.
I'm never going to be. Let's be honest. I will never achieve that level of success. It's too late. But anyway, also before we get started, you mentioned that it is National Tequila Day.
It is.
This is a bourbon-fueled show. I do have the beam Turkey 2020 campaign shirt for those listening on podcast sites. Sorry, you can't see that. But then also, I do like to mention what I am sipping on for the evening, and it's going to be a little Wild Turkey 101 because Beam Turkey. I don't know why turkey's like appears to be in the VP slot, but whatever. That's what I'm sipping on. However, you said it's National Tequila Day. You are sipping on a margarita. So what did I do? We've got some leftovers here, okay? So my girl, we did taco night about 2 months ago, and she made me 3 margaritas. And literally after she left, I died. Like, it was bad. I don't know if she spiked it or what. She claims she didn't, but this is the leftover tequila from it. So I'm going to do a slight little baby shot.
All right.
Because it's, National Tequila Day. And like I said, I'm equal opportunity compliant. Okay?
I appreciate that.
We're for the people. We're for all people here.
That's it.
Here we go. Ooh.
Salud.
Thank you. For those who didn't witness that, the shot was secured. Oh my God. How do you guys do that?
Without cringing that much. Jeez, get it together.
Wow. All right. So I've done my part to honor National Tequila Day. Now, let's get started on just what the hell has been going on in 2020. Okay. Let's take this in order. You know what? I don't even want to talk about the fucking virus. I don't want to do that right now. Well, okay, let me just ask you from your perspective, have you had any family, friends, anybody affected by COVID at all?
So I actually
Yourself?
have. Yeah. So, so my on a lighter note, right? So my boyfriend's in the military, and he caught COVID, lost like sense of taste, sense of smell.
That was me.
Yeah, it was. I mean, luckily his symptoms were pretty mild, and he was, mostly just groping because he couldn't taste his food, which we can get through.
It sucks.
Right?
I couldn't taste my bourbon. That's why I was fucking pissed.
Yeah, like no alcohol, couldn't taste chocolate, couldn't, like nothing, right? So needless to say, all of his post-workout meals were miserable. Like he wasn't even getting endorphins from eating his food. So, and then on I guess, on a little bit more of a somber note, I had an uncle that actually died from it. So he made a living here in the United States, did well for himself, and decided to retire in Mexico because the dollar stretches a lot further there. Went into the hospital for just a routine visit, and while he was there, caught coronavirus and then passed away 4 days later. Super dramatic.
He caught it down in Mexico?
In Mexico, in a nice hospital. And the worst part is that obviously, like being Catholic, they do the big ceremonies and the big funerals. They wouldn't even release the body to our family. They cremated him on site, and they gave the family ashes. Yeah. They're not even releasing the bodies out there, which is again something we didn't realize
all that does is throw up my red flags even higher.
Oh no.
I mean, how fucked up is that?
On
a scale of 1 to 10.
I mean, I guess on a personal note, I think that's screwed up, right? Like they should be able to grieve and put him in the ground and, go through their process, right? In an ideal situation. But I mean, I guess if the country doesn't have an understanding of how the virus spreads and okay, I get it. They don't want to put a funeral home at risk. And
is that just a Mexican policy that you know of?
I don't know. I honestly don't know if that's the standard policy in the country or if it's just that hospital, but that was just the case. That's just what happened. That was just my family's experience.
Yeah, it seems like a total usurping of the family right. Each doing a death. But no, because I feel like you're the second person. Like I talked to somebody last week who they've had family members as well. I already told you the same thing as your boyfriend. I lost sense of taste for about a week. I didn't get anything else. I still worked. I didn't have any other symptom. It was just all of a sudden I'm out barbecuing and drinking bourbon. I'm like, well, that's weird. I know what this should taste like. And it was just But then my girlfriend, she got it significantly worse. She's had history of pneumonia. She's asthmatic. So she was pretty fucking bad for about 2.5 weeks. And then recently my parents both just got it.
Oh, wow.
And my dad's 71 years old. Like this dude I hate to say this, But if anyone was not going to make it, it was him, because he's super asthmatic, multiple heart surgeries, just not, I mean, fucking 71 years old, but he's just had a wealth of health issues his entire life. Fortunately, my mom's a nurse and has basically kept him alive, or he'd been gone a long time ago. Sorry, Dad, but that's just being honest. But yeah, so they both got it and they're fine now. You know, they went through about 2 weeks of just the self-quarantine. They live in the middle of fucking nowhere in Tennessee, so it's fine. They could easily do that. Good. They were just super fatigued. Like, that was their thing. I still don't think my dad's taste is fully returned, but, you know, other than that, they're fine. They just were cleared, and they came out and visited us a few weeks ago. So it's weird because of what you said. Like, your uncle caught it, and 4 days later, that was it. And then we have our experiences, like your boyfriend, my parents, the man I talked to last week, who I just don't think we have a real good understanding of what it's going to do once you get it. Right? Like, we don't know what's going to happen once you get it, but we're causing a lot of second and third order effects based on how we react to it because of the economy. Most of the people affected by this are not fucking CEOs and, you know, people who can chill out for 4 or 5 months and not work. Right. We're talking about literally the backbone of our economy. And that's what I worry about. Cause, you're in Virginia?
North Carolina.
North Carolina. I don't know where you mentioned
it's all the same. The lines all blur.
East Coast. So I'm in California, Bay Area. So, like, they recently shut everything down again, but based on my experience over the past week, I don't think anyone's really listening at this point. You know, restaurants are still, for the most part, takeaway or outdoor seating, whatever. I don't know how it is. How is it in North Carolina?
We wear masks to dinner, but everything's still pretty much open. Yeah.
Okay. Because, we do the mask. You got to do the mask everywhere. But once you sit down, obviously, you take it off. But so the bars and everything are open out there, or no?
Yeah, bars are open. Restaurants are open.
All we got are restaurants. They reclosed my gym. I can't fucking go to the gym. Now, I own a bunch of my equipment, fortunately, because all CrossFitters do, right? But yeah, so they reclosed our gym last week. They reopened it for about a month. Gyms were reopened for about a month. Like, my gym is cool. Like, great gym. You'd love these dudes. So one of the owners is like the chief for the fire department in the city. And it just sucks because the dude's like, I think 44, 45, and he's just fucking smokes all of us. Like, it's ridiculous how good a shape.
That's the worst. That's so embarrassing.
He's like very borderline CrossFit Games level athlete, right? But the dude's 45, takes his shirt off, he's fucking shredded. I'm like, all right, that's cool. We're gonna do that. Keep my shirt on. But yeah, so they had like reopened the gym. They had, you know, they were only letting 12 people in at a time. They had little boxes on the floor. It almost looked like a competition every time you went in, because you had like your own little workout space and you put your equipment in it, right? So yeah, the county unfortunately shut down again. Gyms are closed. It is what it is, right?
Yep.
Well, let me ask you that. Let me get your take on this, because for those who can't see this and are listening, Veronika is wearing a Black Lives Do Matter shirt. Okay. It looks like a workout shirt. Is that like a...
Yeah, it's one of my workout shirts.
Little CrossFit. Yeah. Did you make that, or did you buy it?
No, my gym made it, actually. Yeah.
Gym made it? Okay.
Yeah. I've been blessed to be part of a small CrossFit community here that's very, very inclusive, which is good, you know, because...
Most are, right? Isn't your experience?
You would think so. And I think that's probably one of the most surprising things about like the whole Greg Glassman thing that happened, right? Like,
glad you brought that up. Oh, that's just
if you read a lot of the articles that came out, especially like people who were outspoken or had worked at CrossFit headquarters, one of the things that I guess surprised people was, hey, you know, Greg Glassman never came off as a racist. He's just a misogynist prick, right? Like that was what I think surprised people more than anything else.
Yeah.
But, you know, CrossFit has had an issue with inclusivity, specifically because a lot of CrossFit gyms tend to be in a little bit more affluent areas. It's an expensive,
you're
expensive
right.
Sport.
Yep.
You know, you don't really see a lot of those in like urban or inner city areas, or low income areas. Is probably the better phrase to use. But I've been pretty blessed that like as soon as, you know, like the whole Black Lives Matter, you know, started to come up again, because BLM has been around for at least the last 5-6 years. But once this started happening again, and then Greg Glassman had to make his idiotic comment, like my gym was on the forefront of being like, hey, this is exactly where we stand, and we are not, okay with these comments, and we are not okay. And they lost gym members over it. And
I mean,
it just is what it is. But
no, that's true. But I say this, and you know what? I'll probably piss off the fucking libertarian sect. But look, I've met Greg Glassman multiple times at the games when I would go every year when they were in California. I knew always that he was a libertarian, but my experience with libertarians is, for the most part, they're just fucking dicks, because they don't want to take any they don't want to take any side on anything. They just want everybody to do what they want, and then they can't really explain how that's going to ever actually work out in an organized society. And now, great, I really don't care if the libertarians get mad. That's fine, because like I said, they're just, hey, everybody do whatever they want. Yeah, that works.
I think my struggle with the Libertarian Party is that it's fundamental, like it circulates, or it's based around this notion that like, oh, people are going to do the right thing if you give them the opportunity to, and they don't. Like, at no point in history
right now.
yeah, exactly. Hey, you have the opportunity to either pay your CEOs all of these parachute benefits before you go bankrupt or file for bankruptcy, or you can like take care of your employees. We've never seen any or I think child labor laws, or Black history, or the history of women, or history of minorities in this country, I think pretty much shows like we don't give a shit about people when it comes down to the almighty dollar.
Until you force it. Exactly.
Yeah, corporations give a shit about the bottom line. They're not going to take care of people. It's just not what they're meant to do. And it is what it is, but yeah, it's like it's this utopian society that doesn't exist. Right.
And well, God, there's so much. I'm gonna have to bring you back. We're gonna take like 17 hours to do this, so we got to do that. But so my thing with the CrossFit thing, right? It's I think you brought up a good point about the cost, right? Somehow CrossFit managed to normalize $150 on average as a gym membership for a month, right? And they justify it by like, oh, well, you're paying the trainers, the coaches, and all that. And
if you ever did level 1, and they have ANSI certifications.
And I'm cool with it, because you know what? At the end of the day, I've done everything from, I was a member of Planet Fitness for $10 a month once upon a time. I did LA Fitness. I did 24-hour fitness, or whatever the fuck it's called at this point. I've done every possible Powerhouse gym in Florida. I've done every possible gym membership. And you know what? I will gladly pay the extra money to do my own thing in my own place. Or if I want to do a class with some people, great, whatever. So yeah, I'll give CrossFit all the credit in the world, because they basically, Greg Glassman created a fucking $4 billion business by all estimates, right?
I'm not, you know what? I wouldn't be, it was right, because we have to disagree on everything, right? No, I don't disagree necessarily, but I don't feel like Greg Glassman gets all the credit, right? I feel that, well,
not all the credit, but he did,
or even like the majority,
shit,
right? I think for me, the big draw to CrossFit has always been the community, and the community is built on like, in these like little microcosms. They're small, and they all seem to manage to have the same like sort of feel, where you're all pushing each other to be better. There's this drive to feel included, and like you do, like I think like as huge, right? So I'm gonna go off on a tangent here. I think as people, right? Like we want to feel like we belong to something, which is why we have these like the military community, the police community, church, religion, like, and I'm not going to say CrossFit's a religion, but this inclusivity, this little group, this community, this nucleus that you have, where you feel like you belong to something, is a good feeling, especially for people that don't have these other outlets. So for us, having a community within a community, right? Because we had the military, but then we also got to be inside of this little, like this group within a group, this subgroup, right? It was unlike any other thing I've ever been a part of. And, some of my best friends for the last 7-8 years have been other CrossFitters that I met in Kandahar, Afghanistan, doing a gnarly, just miserable workout in 105-degree heat, burning your hands on like pull-up bars, and like just at the point where your sweat is crusted over into salt. Like but these memories of these miserable, grueling workouts are tied to some of the some people you'd never meet or get to know on any other platform, right? And I think to me that's always been so special. And even now in a civilian CrossFit community, I feel a lot of that, and it's really cool to see women pushing other women, or even women who otherwise, I'm going to speak obviously as a woman, but like, seeing other women push other women to be stronger, to be faster, to, hey, are you coming to the gym today? Like getting that text message, like, hey, you're going to be there. It's a partner workout. Like you better fucking be there. It's such a, it's a good feeling, like to have that accountability, and it makes you want to go because you're part of something. Yeah. So I think that's really what the draw is for me about CrossFit, and, shelling out the like 100 and
whatever,
40, $100 and whatever dollars a month. Coaching is obviously a bonus. I have a little bit longer in the CrossFit community, so the coaching is usually just I need somebody to yell at me just to motivate me when I'm not feeling it, but yeah, I love the community. I love seeing people PR, get their personal best on like on like a squat day or whatever. It's always a good feeling to see somebody grow. So
yeah, well, and then let's talk about like when we were in Arifjan in 2015 at that gym. It's the same thing, right? Like two of my best friends to this day who came out of that were, you remember Tim and Rob, right? And on a normal deployment, whatever you want to call it, I would have never met them.
Yep.
One was a commanding officer at the time, the other was an XO. Like why would I have, I barely have those relationships in my company. Why would I have them with another unit's officers, right?
Right.
Yeah, to this day, two of my best friends that I love, and we talk just about, well, we need to talk more, but we do have our own little group chat, and we usually just insult each other through workouts, kind of like what you're saying. But then I remember you came in, and so many other people. Like, there's so many pictures from that time, just of us in that gym, like doing just dumb fucking workouts, dumb shit. Like, I remember my going away workouts, and I was just like, you jumped in and did it, and like all those people that did it with us, and I was just like,
was that I look back at road? It was like 1,000-meter row cash in or something, just disgusting. No, we did that. Like that.
We did that 3-3 workout from the games.
Oh, yep.
Yeah. So it was a 3,000-meter row, a 3-mile run, and then.
Yeah, I remember the
3,000-meter row, 300 double unders, and then a 3-mile run. Yeah.
Yeah, I remember being really upset about all the cardio.
Well, the funny thing was, like, when I met Tim because I met Tim when we did Murph in May. I don't know if you were there yet. Because I think you came kind of later in the summer. So we did Murph, and that was also the first year at the CrossFit Games that Murph was in it. And if you remember Tim was just a fucking monster. Like, he's one of those guys. If he would have been in a position, like from a family perspective, to just focus and be selfish on himself, he probably could have made the CrossFit Games, right? But I remember we did Murph, and we all wore body armor. Like, we wore way too much. Like, you know how these IOTVs were, right? So mine was, I had an extra large IOTV with the plates, side plates. So mine, I remember Rob and I weighed ours before we started it. Mine was like 31 pounds. Something stupid. Like, the IOTVs are massive. Doing Murph, it was like 116 degrees that day. It was dumb. Took me like over an hour. Tim was done in 38 minutes. He would have been top 10 at the fucking games that year.
Oh my God.
Because he's like, none of that like affected him. Like, there's other stuff that he would, it would all, how CrossFit is, it balances out. But I just remember, like, this dude's done. And I'm still on like push-ups. It was stupid. This is so bad. But no, that ties into what you said, like the community that comes from CrossFit, especially even to this day. Like, I've been a member of 4 CrossFit gyms. My gym in Orlando are like, it was just a frat. It was just a big frat and sorority. Like, we would go downtown after workouts because we were that's how close our proximity was from our gym to the workout or to downtown. Mm-hmm. And we would go out, 20, 25 people, like all just brothers and sisters hanging out. We went to the CrossFit Games in 2016 together. There's like 15 of us that went out as a gym, just as a gym. You know what I mean? Like, that would never happen. Like, some of the best, and I look back on that, and I kind of, that's the only thing I really miss about Florida is like, man, I met some great people that I'll just probably never see again because of, logistics or whatever,
man, never say never. I've done reunions with my people from Kandahar a couple of times. We've done a few over the last 7 years. And we did like this tree house in Texas, and it was like 10 of us just from all over the country, and like it was awesome. And we haven't seen each other in years, and it was like nothing.
All you gotta do is work out. It comes back, right?
That's it. Yeah, just all of us like crying, sweating over a workout, just something disgusting that one of us put together. Like, all right, we're gonna do this, and it's gonna be an hour AMRAP or just something horrible. Like,
I just remember getting back. So when I really got into it, so I came back from before I met you guys in Kuwait. I was in Afghanistan in 2013, 14, and when I came back, my parents live in Tennessee. So I was able to come back to the States in 2014, and I did my level 1 at CrossFit Mayhem. And I've gotten to be really close with some of those people over the years at CrossFit Mayhem, like Rich Froning, all them. Like everything you see them online, that's exactly how those fucking people are. Like they're almost too nice. It's like you're waiting for something that's really going on. But no, that's how great and nice those people were. And then I did the Orlando, and then I came out here, and I've had great experiences at every gym I've been to. And the one now, like I'm still getting into it, but I told you about like the chief, one of the guys is the chief of a fire department, and they're all great people, and they just push each other.
Yep.
And you meet some of the people, like there's San Francisco PD, there's all these different backgrounds from employment sides or whatever. There's a fucking doctor, I think. Like you would never meet those people. If I was going to 24-hour fitness, those people are there, but I wouldn't know it. Because you don't talk to anybody. You just put your fucking headphones on, and you walk around with your gallon jug of water, and you don't do anything to interact with each other. And CrossFit kind of forces you to interact by default. Like that's why you're there, right? So no, I get that. And I think the best thing about, have you heard about this guy I guess they just finalized it today, the actual purchase of CrossFit from Greg Glassman, Eric Rosa, CEO.
So Glassman, what was it? He had, oh my God, I'm blanking on his name. Dave Castro, took over. He took over for like 20 minutes, and now they're selling it off because they realized the backlash was so bad. There's really no salvaging the name or the brand at this point with Glassman.
It's too expensive though, you know what I mean? So that's why they had to get but how great is that? Because if you read about Eric Rosa, like he put CrossFit into some of his companies and all, and like the last coolest thing ever at my apartment before I left Orlando. So the guy who bought the the apartment complex I was living in, it was in downtown Orlando. So it was a downtown type of thing. The VP was this huge CrossFit guy. So he took the entire second floor storage. We were like on five floors. Took the entire second floor storage area out, turned it into a CrossFit gym.
Oh,
it was awesome. The coolest fucking thing ever. Like, he put 2 lifting platforms in there, like all Rogue everything, plates, bar, like rowers.
Yeah.
Massive. Just, I've never lived in a place like that in my life. And it was hilarious because it was full of Karens, because every time we would drop the weights, they'd come over, stop dropping the weights. And I was just like, fucking Karen strikes again. But no, it was great. But no, it just ties into what I think, I think they're going to go in a really good direction, because I was fed up with CrossFit too. Like you've heard the stories with Glassman and all that shit, but this guy's different.
I hope so. And I really hope that it's because we kind of talked about this before we got started. I'm not a fan of cancel culture. I don't like it, but I think
let's get into that.
I think that this is one of the rare instances where it did what it was supposed to. Mm-hmm. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Hey, hey, Greg Glassman, we are not supporting you. You had so many affiliates that pulled out. You had Reebok that pulled out, like Rogue, Noble, like all the
fucking Rich Froning. Like you're like the reason you are what you are, the guy who turned your sport into this international fucking phenomenon.
Yeah. Oh, he was the first, and then all the daughter women were like, deuces, we're out.
Literally, yeah. Every the first female champions you ever had were like, fuck this.
Right. And then he kind of gave that just
he didn't even care.
That flaccid ass apology was like,
why?
I'm sorry what I said hurt your feelings.
You know why you can do that?
And then
because you're just that fucking rich. Or you either just don't care or you're just that arrogant, right?
Right. I think it was arrogance, right? Because it was like, I can do what I want. Because that's the mentality he's had for this long, and he got away with it. So with non-disclosure agreements and everything.
Yeah. You saw the Wi-Fi password, right?
Yes,
Jesus,
it's ridiculous.
like, my thing is this, and maybe it's because you and I obviously come from a military background, but and just me, I'm just like, how is that even like, no one ever thought to be like, hey, this is fucking stupid. Like, that's what I don't get it.
Well, it sounds like from a lot of the people that have come out after the fact that they've said it was stupid, that they felt that way, but between signing non-disclosure agreements and that signing non-disclosure agreements and how sue happy the CrossFit brand is, they were afraid of libel lawsuits. So you kind of just, you take it on the chin, no pun intended. So no pun intended.
For those listening and not watching, please follow on YouTube at There Will Be Bourbon, or check out the podcast, There Will Be Bourbon. All right. Apple, Spotify. I think it's going to be on iHeartRadio soon. It's just waiting for approval. But yeah, we're talking with Veronika. I'm not going to give out her last name because it doesn't matter. Like, you know what I mean? It wouldn't matter if it was my last name, but Veronika and your last name, it's like you're going to get a million people that come up, unfortunately. But if you want to follow her, she's not on Twitter, so I can't help you follow her. You probably like her. She's on Facebook. So. You're not on Twitter. I do.
No, not on Twitter.
No, and you're on Instagram, but you're on Instagram for like the way Instagram was intended. You're just documenting your life. You're not out there like
pictures of my dogs.
Yeah,
a lot of pictures of my dogs and chickens and working out.
Yeah,
that's what that's for. My Facebook is very political. A lot of opinions.
Facebook is
my opinions.
So let's kind of get into. Well, you mentioned the cancel culture. So everything is amplified and way worse on Twitter. Let me just let you know how Twitter works. Okay. But no, I think the issue with cancel culture and what I think, and I'd love to know what your opinion is on it, is I think our biggest issue with what we have going on currently in today's climate, whether it's the statues or whatever it is, digging all the way back into history, like the bases with, military bases, which I don't give a shit about. I've never once cared about the name of something, but do you feel like we're trying to go back and look at history through the lens of today, which isn't fair to anybody before us, right? Because, if you could do it in your own life, you look at, oh man, maybe I shouldn't have fucking done that yesterday, but I did. And hopefully I don't do that again and I learn from it and go better. I don't try to go back and like erase what I did. And that's what I feel like we're kind of getting too far down this rabbit hole with cancel culture, that we're trying to expect perfection from our ancestors when we know it's not realistic.
Right. And I don't necessarily think we should look at the past with today's lens, but I do think that we have a responsibility to teach history or to teach historical events as they happen, right? Like, I'm going to use for instance, Christopher Columbus, terrible human being, right? He was a terrible, terrible human being. Like, of all of the things I'm just going to bring up, like selling children or selling minor women into this like sex trade, just a shitbag. The guy sucked at a lot of things. And he had just a gross opinion about a lot of happenings. So with that said, like, yeah, I don't think we should memorialize someone like him. And I think I take issue with statues that were built in, like, they weren't built in the 1700s or in the 1800s. Like, they were built within the last 60 years when the Ku Klux Klan became a lot more prevalent. And that to me is an issue. I don't believe in tearing down all the statues. Don't melt them down. Like, they should be memorial. They should be where they belong, which is in a museum,
right? With
a placard underneath. Hey, this guy was known for doing some horrible and heinous shit. He won some battles. He was an American.
Yeah.
But he generally was not.
He's on the wrong side.
By today's standards, he was on the wrong side of history.
Yeah.
He was on the wrong side of history, right?
Yeah.
So, and I think that's what we should be doing. I think for me, one of the biggest issues that I have with cancel culture as a whole, right? And this is just looking at it from a broad perspective, is or big picture perspective is that I don't think it allows people the opportunity to grow, right? So the biggest issue that I have with it is when we cancel someone like the woman at the park, for instance, that woman that had called the police officers on the bird watcher, and he was like, hey, can you please put your dog on a leash? And then she's like choking the dog out.
Yeah.
She's got like the dog in a headlock. She's like, I'm calling the cops because you're black and you scared me. And like, what are you doing? What the fuck is happening right now? Right. And so she got doxxed bad. Like, people called her, she got fired from her job, which again is her job. Like, that is her workplace's prerogative to like disassociate from her. Like, I got that. But the fact that like people are sending her death threats and hate mail, and like she has to shut down her social media, like the fact that people are threatening this woman's life now and attacking her as a person, to me, is insane. And like, you always get like the hashtag cancel, Central Park Karen, or whatever the fuck nickname they give her. I think the issue that I have with that is that these outlandish and like drawn out attacks don't give this person the opportunity to reflect on what they did, and it causes them to withdraw even further into their biases, right? Because now it's, well, I'm going to apologize, but it doesn't fucking mean anything. I'm just doing it to stop all of what's happening to me.
That's a good point.
It doesn't change their opinion on anything.
That's a good point.
So, and I think that's my issue, right? Like, I think healthier dialogue needs to happen. And even the guy who had the cops called him was like, hey, this has gone way too far. I think people are so militarized on either side. Mm-hmm. And this is my opinion. I feel like a lot of white people feel militarized because they don't want to be like, I'm on the wrong side of history. So they're the ones that are
driving all this.
They're the ones fucking driving this train. And like, we're not going to stand. We don't want to be associated with this white lady. So we're going to attack the fuck out of her. Rally up, internet! Like, let's get a Reddit.
But you know what? You mentioned that, and there's two things I want to kind of bring up. So the first is, you said people don't get a chance to grow, and I think it's because I think it's the worst on Twitter, and it may be because of the character limitization. And I know they expanded it and doubled the characters that you could put out on a tweet. Well, a couple of years ago at this point, maybe. Facebook, I feel, is a little bit more, but I talked about this, like Facebook is nothing more than arguing with your friends and family, i.e. you and I, right? So, but there is a chance you have the option you can go a little bit more long form. But I feel like the issue with social media and the gentleman I talked to last week, he sums it up. Like, I think social media has made us worse, not better. Because I don't think the stuff that goes on social media would take place if this was a true public forum. Now, social media is today's modern day public forum, in my opinion, because it involves everyone, but there's no decorum. Like, there's no, hey, you conduct yourself like this, right? Like with us in public, we'll come into, if I was going to debate you in public, hey, there's some shit we'll agree about, or there's some rules and decor to this discussion that's going to take place. That doesn't exist on social media. You're free to say whatever the fuck you want. You can hide behind whatever you want. You don't even have to be yourself. You're just spewing whatever you're going to put out there. And then I think the last thing you were saying, as I blank out here, what?
How much have you been drinking?
Not enough. It might have been that tequila shot. But no, like, with cancel culture as a whole is kind of what you were saying. Where does it stop? Because you know what I mean? Like, and I've been saying this on Twitter, because Twitter, as I was saying to you, is I think it's far more extreme because of the anonymity that's in there. There's a lot of anonymous accounts. I don't think that exists so much on Facebook, but on Twitter, you're engaging with straight up fucking strangers or people who aren't even, real accounts because of the anonymity factor. But the problem with Twitter and that aspect of it is that no one is seeking to actually have a conversation. It's a rush to be right. It's a rush to tell others that they're wrong and you're right. And this is exactly why I reached out to have you on here because you and I won't agree on a lot, but we can talk about it. And nobody actually will fucking talk about it, because even honestly, I'm saying that as a blank statement, but I think we've probably agreed on a few things tonight. Yeah. And also, we're actually having the dialogue. No one does that on social media. No one does it. Everyone just wants to put out on their side whatever it is on an issue. Hey, here's my opinion. You fucking suck and you're wrong. And if I see you in the street, I'm gonna fuck you up. Knowing damn well you're never gonna see any of these people in the streets, so you're just making shit up. All right, everyone wants to be a fucking superhero on the internet and write their own little script. But reality is, like, you and I are sitting here right now having this conversation, okay? People don't do that. They don't. And that's why I said social media. Go for it.
Oh, no, go ahead.
Well, social media, to me, social media is not real. It's not. It's not a true reflection of our society, because like I said last time, if I go out in the street right now, if I go knock on my neighbor's door, or if I go to wherever that's actually open in California, wear a mask. If I go somewhere, I can sit and just talk to people. Like, there's no conflict. Every protest I've seen out here has been peaceful, with the exception of the one across the street with the mall, Fairfield, where they drove a truck through the Best Buy entrance. I don't know what that was about, but that happened. Right. So, but that's been fun. Like, okay, I get it. You know what? We've got issues in this country, and I've said this, and I wanted to get your take on this. Like, you know what? Our big issue with police brutality in this country is that the media doesn't make it a story when it affects everyone. They only make it a story when it affects Black Americans. And this is a fucking problem for everyone in our country, I think. Like, police brutality is not unique to the Black population, but it only gets reported when it happens.
So this is where I disagree with you.
Okay, good.
Right? So I don't think that the case is necessarily that the media is spearheading police brutality against Blacks. I don't think that they're covering it at all, against whites, against Blacks, against Hispanics, against
That's true.
The homeless. Like, if it bleeds, it leads. And if it's a particularly sexy story, because we don't have murder hornets going around attacking like old folks' homes or whatever the fuck's going on in 2020 right now. Like, this is kind of just what they use as filler stories. They don't give a shit for the most part. I don't think. In the last 10 years, I can think of very few times that the news has been like, hey, we have a problem in this country where the police are going around. Like, the reason that this became a thing, and the reason that this movement started was because of, really Trayvon Martin and his mother, and then the mothers of I believe it's also Eric Garner and Tamir Rice.
I was in Orlando when that shit happened, and I was in Stanford, so yeah.
This is back in 2005, 2015, 2016. Really, when this started catching a lot of traction, and it's those marches, those hashtags, those conversations on social media that really progressed this conversation forward. So I think that social media does have a place in this, good and bad, right? There's good and bad to everything. I do think that people show their true colors on social media. I think social media is probably the veil lifted on people's best and worst sides. I think fair. And I think one of the things that I've seen more often than not is that people lack the emotional intelligence to have these discussions.
Yep.
And that's not something that's really that's something that's taught, right? Like, that's an acquired skill, because that requires a lot of reflection on your own biases, on your own insecurities, on your own feelings, prejudices that may also affect certain things, right? Like, I'm going to use the Hispanic community as a for instance. With the whole Black Lives Matter thing, a lot of my family's like, I can't believe this is happening, and X, Y, and Z. But we've had to have conversations. I just had this conversation recently with my sister and my cousin, but we've had to address aunts and uncles and relatives about hey, you guys are kind of prejudiced towards Puerto Ricans or Dominicans or Cubans.
That's true. That is
or people, true.
I'm from Central Florida. I've seen all that. So
New York
Puerto Ricans and actual Puerto Ricans from the island.
It's very real. it's very cliquish in the Hispanic community. And a lot of Hispanics, you know, feel some type of way towards the Black community, even though a lot of the civil rights progress that we've had because of Martin Luther King, because of the Black Panthers, because of Malcolm X, because of Angela Davis, like all of these people, the secondary and tertiary effects are Hispanics and women and other minorities having access to those rights too, right? So we are directly affected by all of these things as well. And we also benefit from all of these things as well. So that's my take on social media. I think social media has a place in this, and it's been one of the most interesting things to sort of see how different this is than the original Black Lives Matter movement, right? Because there was a lot of traction that was gained back then, but now with coronavirus, so many people are unemployed right now. So they have the time to pay attention. They have the time to see what's going on. They have the time to read up on the issues. And then it's not just this, right? It's been everything. And that's why you have this like influx of traffic online right now with people spewing all of their unfiltered, unresearched opinions, because this is really the first time they've been involved in a lot of these conversations or have had the time to be involved in these conversations. They're just home with their kids right now, or their husband, their wife, their cats, what have you. And, you know, like they're finally able to really sit down and start to like peel back some of the layers on things that others have been really involved in the trenches for the last 5, 10, 15, 20, 60 years. So to some people, it's like, hey, this is an old argument. Like, this is what's going on. This is why. Do the research. Here are the resources. And I think that's one of the reasons you get a lot of people that are maybe a little bit more militarized online. Like, oh, this is terrible. I can't believe the Black community has been experiencing this. This is how can this be in 2020? Like, bro, this has been happening. Do you not remember like the 90s, the 80s, the 70s, 60s, 50s, 1800s? Like fucking open a history book. Like, this is...
So you bring it up, you are wearing the shirt. So I do want to get your take on it, because I don't think the message is wrong. I think maybe the organization has kind of usurped a good idea for their own gain. So I want to read you something that is on the Black Lives Matter website.
Okay.
And kind of get your take on it, because you're Catholic, correct?
I'm actually non-denominational.
No, whoa, yeah. But your parents.
Yeah.
Were you raised in a Catholic household, or?
Yeah, I went to Catholic school, did the whole thing. It didn't
okay.
take. It didn't
so yeah,
stick.
It didn't take. No, that's fine. I mean, I'm not fucking super religious. I just think, there's probably a higher power. Otherwise, I don't know what the fuck's going on if we're just like, there's nothing, right? Like, we're on Earth.
I don't know, man. Joe Rogan just put out that the Pentagon admitted to aliens. So maybe that one dude on the History Channel was right. Maybe it's just
we have captured vehicles not constructed of Earth. Oh, what the fuck? I don't know. It's 2020. I'm just saying. We started this off with saying
whose Jumanji role is it? Because this is getting ridiculous.
All right, I got 2 paragraphs, right? So this is on the Black Lives Matter website. Quote: "We disrupt the Western prescribed nuclear family structure requirement by supporting each other as extended families and, quote, villages that collectively care for one another, especially our children, to the degree that mothers, parents, and children are comfortable. We foster a queer affirming network. When we gather, we do so with the intention of freeing ourselves from the tight grip of heteronormative thinking, or rather the belief that all in the world are heterosexual, unless she or he or they disclose otherwise."
So it sounds like a LGBTQ plus inclusion, right? That's what that says to me.
The second part, the first part is what the
nuclear family, the Western nuclear family.
Like, let's be honest. So here's a stat. It's a real stat. Anyone listening can go look it up. So 75% of Black Americans are going to be raised by a single parent.
Yep, that's true.
That's not good under any definition. I mean, I'm a parent. Yeah, I know you're a dog mom, so that's cool.
Yeah. Mother of 4 dogs.
Yeah, your mother of 4 dogs. Damn. You still got those abs though. What's up? No, I'm just kidding.
Right? CrossFit, count macros.
So I have a daughter. My daughter's 14. Her mom is Black American. We were never married. We've been able to co-parent for going on almost 15 years. She'll turn 15 in December. Both of us have been super involved, but we were not married, so we will not fall under the traditional nuclear family. I was raised by both parents. You were, correct? Both your parents married?
They were, and they divorced. So I can get into that if you want.
Yeah, no, that's fine. My thing is, I just feel, again, my daughter's mom and I are probably maybe unique, maybe not. I don't know. Because I've heard, you're in the military, you've heard enough fucking horror stories probably with single parents, right? But I do feel like it is very beneficial to the kid to have strong role models on the male and female side, whether it's mom and dad, if it's an uncle, if it's an aunt, somebody, a family friend, something. But I think you need both to kind of keep the kid moving in a positive direction. You know, too top heavy on one side is going to lead to something. But when I hear that message, I just don't, because you know what that message is. I know you're smart, and I don't know if you studied this shit in college or if you studied this shit at all, but that's the fucking Marxist playbook, is the disruption of the nuclear family. That's what that is. And that's just not in line with traditional American ideals. Like, why would you want to disrupt that and put it on like this quote unquote village idea for raising kids? That's not, I don't think it's very realistic. Because honestly, I'm not going to lie, like, you know, I live in a community, but the kids that are in this community aren't my responsibility. They're the parents' responsibility. Now I'll look out for them. And if they're about to fucking jump off the ledge, I'll be like, hey man, don't do that. Right. But it ain't my job to fucking raise them. Right. So I still feel like and it's not just an American, like this is not unique to America. Like the family structure, the male and the female in a household when it comes to raising kids. Now I get it. There can be two females or two men who adopt or have kids or whatever. I get that. That's still two strong presences, right? Two roles that are still there to raise that kid. They're not doing it on their own. They're still a unit, whether it's two men, two women, two whatever, aliens, I don't know, whatever we come up with. But that's a strong family structure and a strong model for that kid to be raised up under, which is what I think is important. Now, if we want to, attack the traditional nuclear family, I won't do that, but I will say that it doesn't have to be a mom and a dad, but it has to be two strong personalities to raise a kid. I think you have to have multiple presences in the life of a child, not just a single mom, not just a single dad, because that kid's going to miss out on something.
I think so. Me personally, not that I struggle with the notion of like traditional family, right? Because I understand the value of like having dinner. Like the statistics don't lie, right? Like kids that have dinner with a family and have structured family time, like come out to be better rounded adults, according to like a lot of family studies, right? So my parents divorced when I was really young. I was 14. I lived with my mom
that's the same
for
age
a year.
So that's, yeah.
Yeah. So my parents divorced. My mom and I did not get along at all. I was willful. Shocker there. I know.
Yeah. Can't imagine that.
That's willful and opinionated.
Not much has changed.
Not who you telling? My mom would agree with you. So I lived with her for about a year, and it was turbulent, right? Bad juju. And my mom was raised with very, very strong Hispanic cultural roles, which is like women are meant to be, which was conflicted, right? Because she was also raised in the United States for most of her life. So it's like women should be strong and get an education, but they should also be seen and not heard, be pretty, do what you're told. So that just didn't jive with me, sort of like know your place. Yeah. Because it seemed silly, right? Especially as a 14-year-old girl. Whereas my dad didn't want kids, didn't really know. He'd been the breadwinner. He was always at work. So very traditional household, right? So when that household broke, neither one of them knew how to parent individually. So it was really interesting to sort of watch them struggle to make up for the other half. And the other half being like, when my dad was home, he would hang out with us for like the hour before we'd go to bed. And my mom would get to like go and chill out and like cry in the bathroom or whatever it is that moms do. Like, bless you. I have no idea how moms do it. Like I
Mom. You know how
I threatened to euthanize my dogs at least 16 times a day. Like,
hey, whatever works, whatever.
You know, but I could just lock them outside and be like, "You're staying outside today." Like, you're left alone. Like, you can't do that with kids. It's supposedly really illegal. So I don't know.
Yeah, whatever. What they don't know.
But with that, like, so I actually went to go live with my aunt for the last 2 years of high school. And my aunt, I was one of 6 in that house. So I went from being, you know, myself and my sister to being the oldest of 6 kids, and completely untraditional family structure. And my aunt took in everybody's kids. Like, she's like me with fostering pets. She fosters children. Like, that's probably where I get it from. She's like, "Oh, you come from a broken home and you don't have a meal tonight. Let me take you in." And we always had people. Yeah, we always had people at the house. So this like socialist nuclear family village raise the kids notion is something that's actually really dear to my heart, because my aunt took me in and she took it upon herself to raise me when my parents were both in a place where they were just not emotionally capable of being there for both of their kids. And it's funny because like I'm 31 now, and I, by all marks, a successful you're single female. You know, I'm doing okay for myself professionally, emotionally, spiritually, financially. I just bought my second home. You know, I'm doing okay. And yeah, exactly. But it's nice. And a lot of the values that I have are very much tied into like this really turbulent period of life that I had. A lot of the values that my dad taught me to like learn to take care of yourself, because nobody's going to take care of you for you.
Yeah. Definitely
came into play. My aunt's, philanthropic views of, and her maternal instincts were really ingrained in me at a young age. And honestly, I think made me a great NCO. Yep. Because it didn't matter if it was my soldier or not. Like, hey, you need help.
The army is pretty socialistic and for sure. Socialistic, but it's also a meritocracy.
I'd agree with that. It's definitely but you get a lot of NCOs that they just don't give a shit, right? Like, yeah. And unfortunately, they still get promoted, and that's a whole other argument. That's a whole other thing. That's a can of worms for another day.
Move up, right?
Yeah. Just that, God, and all you have to do is outlast the good soldiers that are eventually going to get out, because they get
they're like, fuck
sick of the bullshit. They're like, I'm done. I can do something else, and then they're like, oh, I'm a first sergeant now. I'm in charge.
But see, so there's a few things I hear with your personal story is you still had the impact from a mom and a dad, whatever it was,
parental figures, right?
Yeah,
strong roles.
And then unfortunately, like, I don't think your aunt's story is super unique, but I also feel like she's unique in American society, right? Because America's not overflowing with people like your aunt, right? Now they're out there, but there's not enough of them to fill in the gap, unfortunately. Because
I see a lot more of that, and that, to make it like a race thing, but like I see a lot of that in Hispanic and Black cultures. And I think it's because their communities are so much smaller and they're so much more ingrained and intertwined that it really is like it takes a village to raise a child. Mm-hmm. So obviously I think it's pretty obvious, like me saying that I'm, both my parents are Mexican. I'm not Black, but I grew up ingrained in Black communities. A lot of Black and Hispanic communities are usually co-located and pretty tight knit. But a lot of the statistics that affect the Black community affect the Hispanic community, almost like on par, right? So they're like, it's usually the Hispanic community behind like every other like statistic behind Black communities in the United States. But if you look at the way that a lot of single parents end up becoming single parents, and again, this is a whole can of worms for another time, but you can look at like the prison industrial complex and how a lot of Black men are sent to prison. So it's like higher incarceration rates for young Black American males than any other. Yeah, per capita, right?
Yeah.
So immediately that puts you in a single family household. So you're kind of starting with a shitty situation to begin with, right? Yeah. So like you're shot in the foot out the fucking gate.
Yeah.
So these kids are now being raised by a single mother who now has to provide for this household. So guess what she's doing? She's probably working 2 jobs. If you're working 2 to 3 jobs, you're not really home to raise your kids. Yep. So who's going to raise your kids? Right? It's going to either be family members or it's going to be the streets. And those are the issues. And that's what I think. And again, I'm not going to speak for the Black Lives Matter webpage or the movement. I'm not really an authority on that, but I will say I personally believe that's probably what it's alluding to, because that tends to be an overwhelming theme in a lot of urban neighborhoods, right? Is single parents not being able to take care of their kids while they're working, and their kids being kind of left to fucking fate and whatever's available to them, you know? So it kind of, in those cases, like I can understand, like, hey, it takes a village to raise a kid. And hey, we need to look out for each other until this whole fucking system is fixed. And, you know, obviously we can go forward from there, and that's a whole other thing. But
it also seems like, so where I pulled it from an article. There's a columnist. Have you heard of Jason Whitlock?
Mm-mm.
No. Okay. So he's a sports columnist. He's a Black American. I think he's 53 years old at this point. Anyway, but I've been reading him and following him for years. He's a little more independent now that he's kind of doing his own thing, which, you know how this works. The more freedom you have independently, the more you can say, right? So now he's but he's very against the Black Lives Matter movement because he's a Christian, first and foremost. So he's very still, that's kind of his guiding philosophy through life. He talks about his struggle coming up as if he never had the opportunity. He played football in college, and if it wasn't for football, he never would have had a chance to go to college. You know, he lived with his dad in a 400 square foot apartment while he was on his way to college, you know. So he kind of ties it into, like, there's a greater attack in his mind on football in this country. But he argues how if we, eliminate that or we attack that, we're essentially attacking the largest provider in America of Black millionaires in this country, which is football. And the main opportunity to get many Black men in this country to a college campus is through sports. So it makes a lot of
How sad is that? Like, how sad?
No,
is
it's
that?
sad. You're right, but that's his reality. Like, he grew up he grew up in the fucking, as he describes it, the hood in Indianapolis. Like, he was never going to college. He was a smart man. Like, obviously, I mean, the man's made a great career out of himself being a reporter and all, but he was a great high school football player. He'll tell you himself, he was an average college football player and never got a sniff of the NFL, but football got him to college, got him a college degree, and allowed him to live the life that he lives now. And he's like, that's the reality for most Black men who go to college to play sports. Most of them are never going to get to the pro. I went to college to play baseball. I got to college and found out very fucking quickly that I was not going past college, right? Like, hey, your talent runs out. Like, when you're in high school and you're that good, you feel like you're the fucking man. But you know what? You get to college, everybody's the fucking man or the woman, because, there's right? And then, you know what? There's some people who are going to move on to that next level. And it damn sure wasn't me. And, like, it wasn't him. But he got that degree. That's what mattered to him, and that's what made him obviously get to where he's at today. And I don't know. I get where he's coming from, because a lot of these issues affect the Black community more than damn sure than it affects the white community where I'm from.
I don't know if that's true either, though. I think
I gave you the stat. 75% of Black children born in this country are going to be raised by a single family. That's not true for the white community. That's not true for your community.
Fair enough.
That's what I mean. So that's what I think he's alluding to, is like, you disrupt this, you remove this, you create even more problems in our community. And that's kind of where we're at. Like, we can't rely on these movements to help us. We need, and his other big thing is jobs over gestures, right? Because he kind of points out to a lot of this shit with the Black Lives Matter, the hashtag, whatever. It's a fucking gesture. You kneeling during the anthem, it's a gesture. Now, I don't know about you. I don't know how into sports you are. I love, like, I'm watching baseball right now in the background. Every sports leagues at this point realizing, like, hey, let's just acquiesce to the Black Lives Matter movement. Let's let them do whatever. I don't tune into a sport for a political opinion. I don't care. I have a political science degree. I educate myself on every issue. I have never tuned into a sport for anything to see other than how the final score was achieved. That's it. Like, I can look in my community or in the world to know, hey, this is what's going on. I don't need an athlete. I don't need LeBron James. I don't need any of these people to tell me how to feel or anything, because I can see it for myself.
I always find irony. So as a soldier, I'm interested in your opinion,
Yes.
right? So I'm always interested in, like, the duality of saying, like, I don't tune into sports for political anything or for politics, but you can't tell me that you've never gotten teary-eyed watching, like, one of those soldiers, like, I came home from Iraq, and, like, runs up to her family in, like, the stadium or whatever. Yeah. Like, we that's
look, I may be the wrong person to ask, because I cry over everything. I am I will, like, if there's a commercial, I swear to God, I cry every day watching something, because I just, I am very easily emotionally manipulated by visuals. Yes. So no, but, like, you know, everyone made this issue.
But it speaks to you, right? Like, that's something that speaks to you and affects you on a personal level, because that's something that you can relate to, because it's something that affects your community. And I feel like that's probably what kneeling is to the Black
community. That doesn't
community,
bother me one bit.
Right? And, like, that's...
Like, kneeling, like, Colin Kaepernick kneeling never bothered me one fucking bit. I don't give a shit.
I mean, it was a ranger that suggested he kneel instead of sit.
Right, exactly. So many people tie it to, oh, you're disrespecting the flag, you're disrespecting the military. It's like, not really, bro.
Don't get me started on flag code while people are like, you're disrespecting the flag, and they're wearing their, like, flag shorts, flag sports bra.
Well, see, so I can. So
Eagle.
I got the loophole.
Get out of here with your fucking flag.
I got the loophole on that. So you can't do that with an actual flag, but what you're describing is an artistic representation of the flag. So it's not real.
Right.
Yeah. No, but look, I mean, other people point out, look, I've been to enough sporting events. Half the fucking people during the national anthem are at the fucking
hot dog stand. They're
exactly.
Or they're pissing. That's their opportunity to go use the bathroom.
They won't take their hat off, or they're at the fucking concessions, or, you know, like, spare me, like, your patriotism is being infringed upon. It's not. Now, however, I will say this. Look, Kaepernick started that, and it was either 2015 or 2016. Might have been 2016. I think we were back. I
think the sitting started in, like, 2014, and then, like, it went on to the next season, or it started in, like, the off season, right?
And then it doesn't matter anymore. Like, who cares? Okay. Oh, cool. Wow. The entire Dodgers team kneeled last. Oh, I don't give a shit. Like, what does that mean? You're kneeling. No one's there to see it. Like, my thing is, like, we don't need that gesture from a professional athlete and if you do, I think you're the problem. If you really need them to kind of solidify your political opinion one way or the other, like, if you really tune into a sport and care that much what the athlete does before they actually get on the court or the field to play, come on, man. Like, I don't need to be in political alignment with an athlete. That's not I don't need to. You and I are not in political alignment on a lot of things. It doesn't fucking matter. You wear my team's jersey, I want you to fucking win that night. That's it.
Yeah. I think for me, though, like, so, and this is just a nugget of, like, advice that my dad gave me growing up, right? And my dad's super, like, he's, like, the guy that believes in, like, help. Like, he literally has taken his shirt off and, like, given it to, like, other people. My dad's just that guy, right?
Yeah.
And he raised me with the belief that if you're in a position to do something or say something, you have a moral obligation to. And I feel like people in these positions or these platforms, or like the platform that you have, if you're in a position to say something or speak out against something that you feel is an injustice, and you choose not to because of political or financial backlash. That to me is cowardice, right? And I feel that other people probably feel the same way. I've always been pretty outspoken on my beliefs, and it's definitely gotten me into trouble a time or two. It is what it is.
It's worth it.
It is what it is. Yeah, worth it. Fuck it. Add it to my tab, you know? Oh, I pissed someone off again. Shocker. But I think that's probably what some of these people feel, right? Like, especially in sports, I find it, you know, like I have issue with sports benefiting off of Blacks that come from usually low income neighborhoods, right? And this is like oh, well, you came up and we gave you an opportunity. You didn't give them shit. Like, this whole fucking franchise doesn't exist without these athletes, period, right? You guys are here to watch them play and do their thing. I know. I was so fucking awesome. And be these like fucking right? Like, be these fucking superhuman badasses and like jumping in the, you know, I was just watching the Michael Jordan documentary recently. I'm like, yo, this dude jumps high. This dude jumps higher than I am tall. Like, that's fucking insane.
Dude, Jordan was a fucking monster.
An animal. You know, I don't even watch sports, and you know, like, and again, like these athletes, who wasn't sad when Kobe died, right? Like, and I'm from LA, so that affected our community.
Yep.
Like, the community was heartbroken. And again, it's one of those things where like sports sort of transcends just the sport, because it does become a cultural phenomenon.
They're unifying.
And it's hope. These athletes are hope for these young Black kids that are left behind in these communities, or if that's a way to kind of look at that. It's opportunity, it's hope. And for them to not speak out, I think would almost be a disservice. But that's my opinion on it. I understand not like wanting to tune into Sunday Night Football and having to, because you see politics and you see coronavirus and you see the murder hornets and the aliens and fucking Exotic Joe and all the bullshit every single day, Monday through Saturday, and Sunday you just want to turn your brain off and like scream at the TV. I get it. I understand that part of it, but I also think that, like, you know, that's probably something that we take for granted, is we can choose to or not to pay attention to what's happening. But for some other people, this is their reality every day, and it's always ignored. Well, Sunday I can't pay attention to it because it's football. Monday night's The Bachelor. Tuesday is 90 Day Fiance. Wednesday I have to fucking shave my cats. Thursday, whatever. Like, whatever the fuck it is that excuses and like things that people use to tune off to like what's going on. You know, I think I personally think that the Black Lives Matter movement, like any other movement, right? So civil rights, gay rights, women's rights. I think we're going to look back on history at this time as a turning point. I think a lot of really important issues have been brought to light. I think a lot of important discussions are happening. Me personally, I've seen a lot of really healthy conversations happening with some of my friends and family that I didn't expect them, like realizations that I didn't expect them to make. I think one of the things that I struggle with in the dialogue is people mistaking prejudice and racism. They're not the same thing.
As you know, everybody's a racist today.
Right. And that's a problem. And again, like how we kind of talked about like cancel culture, people are so quick to call everybody a racist. And again, I think a lot of issues are born of ignorance, or a lot of opinions are born of ignorance, right? So if we want the conversation to continue forward in a healthy direction or in a progressive direction, we need to be able to, one, be educated on the issues, have cool, calm-headed, level-headed discussions, and not resort to just calling everybody a racist. Give people, like, again, kind of circling back around, give people the opportunity to learn and grow, right? And we're not doing that by like, you're a fucking racist, expletive, whatever. And
it removes the meaning of the word, unfortunately.
It removes the meaning of the word, because there are actual racists out there.
There's some real fucking racists out there.
Yeah. You know, and fun fact, I had a white nationalist business card left on my car one day.
Oh, nice. He's got business cards. That's great.
Yeah, they got business cards. I got the little Nazi logo and the phone number and email I could reach out to. I don't think I was the demographic they were looking for. And their pajama party wasn't my thing.
You should have showed up anyway. No, never mind.
Yeah. Played out the Clayton Bigsby role. That'd have gone over well. Good Lord. But I don't think that we're quite there yet. And I have like a whole opinion on like education needing to be revamped, and like it needs to start there. Education is the foundation of everything. But
so
yeah, man.
How do you think that's working right now with everything's going to go to, like my daughter's she's going to start high school via Zoom.
I think it's so, as somebody who just finished online college, it's terrible. And I hate online school. And
I hated it. Yep.
It's awful.
Every opportunity to take a class in person, I did it.
Yeah.
That's how I did my master's. I was like, is there a way I'll make it happen so I can go physically in campus? Yeah.
Yeah. It's miserable. Online school is miserable. And again, I can't imagine how hard it is for the parents, especially the single parents that are trying to work.
So I'll be fine, but exactly. That's a great point, because
and that's
there's nowhere for these kids to go.
Right. And there are no healthy outlets. And again, like this is where that emotional intelligence comes in on the behalf of the parents. And now you're like trying to instill that in these kids. Like, hey, I need you to just be patient. We don't know when this is going to end. No, you can't see your friends. No, you can't go out of the house. The mall is closed. Yeah. Sorry, prom is canceled. Like all of these things that these kids are looking forward to is their entire high school experience or middle school experience is pretty much a wash. I felt so bad for this
graduating class because I watched it with, my job. I watched these kids, the local high schools. Hey, your graduation ceremony is going to be you driving up, getting out of your car, getting your diploma, shaking the hand of the principal, and then getting back in your car. And I was like, okay, that's one way to never forget how you graduated, but also like, that's fucking really, this is what we're doing. Like I really felt bad I really do. I felt bad for all of them. Cause everything, like you said, it's not only just that's the way to graduate, but everything was canceled. Like I bring back up the gym owner, his son, great baseball player, his entire senior season's canceled. And that just fucks up his college opportunity. Like it's widespread. And I bring back up Jason Whitlock. He talked about the high school he came from in Indiana. He still talks to his head coach there, and another rival high school in the area, and how like this is going to affect these Black kids from getting their opportunity to receive a scholarship and go to college because they're not going to play.
Yeah.
Like you already talked second and tertiary, or, those effects, like, yeah, that's going to come from this. And sports, whether we like it or not, are still a very large outlet and provider of the college experience for these kids in these communities.
Yep. Yeah. And it's unfortunate, right? That like, that's like the military paid for my college degree. Yeah. So
I sure wish we were seeing a surge. We damn sure aren't. Yeah. Kids aren't lining up to join.
Yeah. I mean, and especially with this whole Venezuelan thing, like you've got like a lot of Hispanic communities are coming out.
No, that you bring up a great point, because I've seen it. We talk about this in our group chat for the station commanders. Is one of the guys is in a little more rural region of Northern California, and he's lost 3 individuals, females, who are just like, not ready to do this. I don't feel comfortable. We had one in my station. She's fortunately going to still move forward, but she asks us every time she comes in, and it's a messaging thing. And I don't know who watches this fucking podcast, but I will say this. I am at a point where I am very comfortable. And I will tell you this, a little more honesty and a little more empathy will go a long fucking way. Forget the fucking buzzwords. Just be honest. And that's my thing, because you're right. Like, and you're a female, you're a fucking Mexican-American female, just like
service member.
Right. Was Vanessa Guillen, was her background Mexican, or was it?
I believe so.
That's the same thing. Like,
I get that for sure.
Yeah. But I mean, you can provide a completely different experience in the military than I can, because you're a female and you're a minority, and I am a white male in the military, and my experience has been probably greatly different than yours. Like,
it's funny. Yeah, I've had that conversation with a couple of friends too, because they're like, oh, I didn't know that, sexism was still a thing. I'm like, Yeah, what? Like, I'm 31 years old and I've still had to like put people in check. Like, hey, that's not absolutely not. And again, I'm a lot more comfortable being outspoken. But you'd be surprised how many there's that culture, right, where it's like if you say something, you're a bitch.
Oh yeah.
But if you don't say, but if you don't say something, you had it coming to you. Sort of like, and it's like this weird line that you have to. A lot of young females feel that they need to tiptoe.
Yep. Especially in the military.
Yeah.
Because then rank gets introduced, right? And then it's like,
Yeah, I've had again a story for another time, but I had long story short, I had a warrant officer that made some super inappropriate comments to me on my first deployment to Afghanistan. And I didn't report him. I never said anything because I was the only female in my shop. And I volunteered to go on that deployment. I wasn't even supposed to be there. But the only thing that I kept thinking was if I say something, they're not going to remove a CW3 or this chief warrant officer. They're going to remove Specialist Lopez because one, I'm the only female in the shop. And
you just gave up your last name. Anyway, go ahead.
Oh, whatever. I know nobody's going to find me. Lopez. A Spanish girl named Lopez?
I said it doesn't matter. Like,
throw a drop of water in the fucking ocean. Good luck. But yeah, I mean, that was the whole thing, right? Like that was the first thing that went to my mind. Because one, I didn't know what my options were. Two, I didn't know what I could or could not do, what my left and right limits were, what I could say.
Yeah.
And I didn't know if anybody would believe me or defend me. So it's like, why rock this boat and jeopardize my entire deployment, this entire reason that I joined the service and I volunteered to be here. I wanted to come on this fucking deployment. I didn't even have to be here. I volunteered to be here.
Yeah.
And I'm about to, just throw it all away for what? Maybe somebody does do something or doesn't do something. In worst case scenario, they'll slap this guy on the wrist and I'm stuck in the room with him anyway. And now he's pissed, right? And has authority over me. So needless to say, the deployment didn't go any better after that. And I learned a lot of hard lessons. But what I did get from that was the second deployment around, again, another one that I volunteered for. I made sure to let every single soldier, male or female, below me know if you guys have any fucking issues, absolutely come to me and I have your back. Like, bar none, I don't give a shit who it is, what they're like, I got you. If I fucking lose my E5 rank, I'll get it back in 6 months. I don't give a shit. Like, so what are they going to do? But, and at that point you kind of learn, like, again, right, if you have an opportunity to say something, obligation to.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So yeah, that was definitely an interesting deployment too. I definitely had to come to the aid of a couple people, but I think it definitely went a lot better for them, I hope, than it did for me my first time around.
So I know we met in 2015. Have you deployed since then?
No. So I deployed in 2015 and then I voluntarily extended another 9 months in Kuwait. And I spent some time in Syria, Iraq, Turkey, Jordan. Yeah. Bounced around a little bit.
Yeah, did you get to set up the CrossFit gym in Syria? That'd be cool.
Oh my God. Yeah, the Flintstone gym that we had out there.
Oh, no, cool. I love that. No, so did you have any issues from that or everything?
No, not when it came to any sort of like sharp or sexual harassment related stuff. I mean, don't get me wrong, like you get your standard guys that are like, hey, how are you? You want to hang out? You want to go to the chow hall together? I'm like, no, man. I'm counting my macros, and this is my third workout of the day. I gotta go. Like,
no, I get that. But I mean, you were in Kuwait. You know how that fucking place was. But,
yeah. It's really easy to get caught up in your little, in the little like.
Yeah. Well, that's what I liked about it. We had like a little unit.
A little clique, yeah.
And we all looked after each other and kind of, we went to the chow hall and we used Kat as our meal purchaser for all the places. Because, I mean, for those who don't know, like not everybody was able to go off post in Kuwait, and we were not allowed at the moment for a good stretch because there was a suicide bombing at a church or at a mosque, not a church, at a mosque. It was probably around this time. Well, no, it was in June of 2015. Mm-hmm. So that is why we had to use contractors to sneak us food onto base. So go ahead and report us, whatever, it's over. But yeah, So there's people in Kuwait who are doing great, but at the moment they're not, because one of my really good friends, she's still a contractor in Kuwait, and they can't do shit. They're so fucking locked down. It sucks to be in Kuwait right now. It's not even fun. They can't use any of the gyms. Like what?
Yep. COVID. It's crazy. This whole
like 18 gyms and a pool on Airfjord. They can't do shit. It's fucking crazy.
I don't know what I would do if I'd been stuck out there without any of those outlets.
Oh God.
Because like the working out, like I spent so much time at the gym, especially because I was, like after you guys left, I was actually running the CrossFit program out there. So like I spent from like 5 a.m. till like we closed at 9 o'clock at night. I was at work or there.
I spent more time in the gym than I ever did working. Like my normal day, and I used to love fucking doing.
I wouldn't brag about that since you just said your Murph time earlier. So
that was then. Murph time now. Good. I still need to do it this year because I didn't get a chance. My gym was closed, but I'm going to do it. My Murph time last year was like, I don't know, it was like 41 minutes. I'm good at Murph. It's not even hard. It's not hard for people in the military. I don't think. Like you could be pretty good at Murph. We run, we do pull-ups. Most people just can't, do push-ups. I think that's what most people can't do.
I'd agree with that.
Yeah. Okay. But anyway, like my day in Kuwait was because I lived in Zone 6. There was a Starbucks
District 6.
Yeah, I lived in Zone 6. There was a Starbucks there, and then we worked in Zone 1. So if you knew, there was a Starbucks in Zone 6, and there was another one in like, was it Zone 2?
Yeah, the bougie zone.
Yeah, before
I don't remember what it was called.
Strip. So
yeah, the officers' quarters.
Look, all I knew is the DFAC closed at 8:15, so I would get up at 8, go to the DFAC. I would get my free food. I would then go to the first Starbucks, and I would sit there and read the Stars and Stripes and get my little double espressos. And then I would pedal my little rented bike up to where I worked, which was like 2 miles away up in Zone 1. I'd be there for like, I don't know, 2 hours max, just respond to email and then tell my LT, ma'am, let me know if you need anything. And I'd be gone.
What a life.
Platoon sergeant. She was a platoon leader. It was her first deployment. She was all about just like being in charge of everything. And I was like, fine, cool. Let me know if you need anything.
Yeah.
I'm not going to step on your toes. Don't care. So then I'd go to lunch. Then I would take a nap. And then I would go to the fucking CrossFit gym at 3. Yes. And I would do whatever. Usually Rob would show up. We would just lift and then get ready for the class if we were coaching that day. And then we would do our own shit. And then I would go to dinner with you guys. And then that was probably because dinner stopped at like 2000. So we'd go at like 1945. So yeah, from like 3 to almost 8 at night, we'd be in the gym. Like, I literally spent more time at the gym than I ever did working.
Dude, I was like coaching at one point the 5:30 class that we considered canceling a bunch of times because we couldn't get any coaches that wanted to coach that like good, like ungodly hour. And I was like,
unless you can go take a nap afterwards.
Nope, no naps. And I was just like, fuck, all right, I'll take one for the team. So my dumbass is like just wiping the crust out of my eyes, like showing up all frizzy haired and like sweatpants and like grumbling at people. I was just like angry, just fucking miserable. Coach, I'd go eat my breakfast, go back to my room, get changed, go to work because my first meeting was like at 7:30, and then I'd be at work all day. Go to lunch, be at work all afternoon. Might be able to skip away for an afternoon workout, which was really just to get like as much pre-workout as I could into my body so that I wouldn't fall asleep by like 3-ish, and then I'd be out by like 5, 6, start coaching, and then by like 8 I was doing my workout, and then I'd fucking rinse, wash, and repeat. Like my days were so full, but like time flies that way. Like it sounds miserable thinking back on it now, but like
I love it.
I fucking loved it, and it was really it flew. And I like even now, I haven't been back I left in June of 2017, and you look back and you're like, God, those are some fucking great times. I was exhausted, but it was awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Slept, just had fucking bronchitis every other week because of the dust storms. Like, fuck coronavirus. I was sick every other week. I had some sort of like allergy.
That prepped you for
allergy.
it.
Oh my God. Yeah. pretty much with all the antibiotics I had to take. I had some sort of like upper respiratory infection or allergy attack, like a sinus infection. Probably.
You may have brought it to the Americas.
You know what? You're not. So I was in Milan in February, and they shut shit down like 2-3 weeks after I'd gotten home. My friend sends me this message. She's like,
"Oh damn,
hey, they just shut down."
That was like ground zero.
Yeah, they're like, "Hey, they just shut down Italy." I was like, "Bitch, we were just there. What are you talking about?" And I had no idea what was going on. And I look up the news. I was like, "The fuck is a coronavirus?" And I was like, "Oh my god, shit." We were good. So
could have been the one.
I might have been patient zero this time. Who knows? Maybe.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely can tie my experience back down to San Francisco and the Giants season ticket holder event I went to, and then to Oregon. So whatever, I had it. I'm good now. But so I do know this, and this is probably one of the last things I want to get into, because I know you're on East Coast hours, so I appreciate you giving me your time. It's 7:00 here. I'm good. You, on the other hand, you got a workout to do in the morning.
I do. Yeah.
So
I'm finishing my sleeve. So.
Okay. Yeah, I see that. Look at that. What do you got?
I got some more work to go. It's a little bit more work.
I'm not sleeved up. I got this.
Better get no time like the present.
Costume. I'd rather buy bourbon. Look, I mean, that's what I spend my money on.
Costs about the same.
Yeah, I'm trying to finish bottles up so I have less to move next weekend. But anyway, were you a Bernie Sanders supporter? Yeah. Okay. So let me get this straight. Any reasonable human being can say with 100% accuracy that Bernie Sanders was screwed out of the nomination in 2016. That happened.
Yes.
So then this year, I just would love to get your take on everything and maybe what you predict. But I watched the exact same thing happen. I watched Bernie Sanders, who I would be more than willing to receive the nomination and just let America decide, rather than watch this man get forced out based on the powers that be. Because I watched every one of these debates. I watched every one of these primary voting things, and Joe Biden was nowhere to be found ever in any of them until everyone systematically dropped out.
Right.
And I still contend on this date. It is now what? July 20. Let me look.
It's July 24th.
July 24th. That no side wants to win this election. The president doesn't want to win. Joe Biden damn sure doesn't win. He don't even know what fucking day it is. And the people who had the best chance of beating him were forced out.
So I blame my generation for this, right? So I'm gonna get the dates wrong. Right? So, but it's the millennials, those 80s to
yeah. I don't know, because like I was born in 80, and like on some generalizations, I make it.
No, they're set dates. Yeah. So when were you born? You were 85, 86?
Oh no, I'm older than that. I was born in 1980.
Oh, I think
I'm
you fall.
No. Yeah.
No, I think you're like right on the cusp.
Yeah,
so
exactly. So I'm either a millennial or I'm not.
You're right on the cusp. You're like the kids that didn't grow up with cell phones.
Exactly. I did not.
You had beepers.
Never.
So,
yeah, exactly. Pagers.
Pagers. Gross.
You got suspended 10 days for school from having one.
Yeah, that's it. Fucking sending each other like messages and stuff, and like
call me 9111.
Yeah. Yeah, man, millennials we don't fucking show up to primary votes. It like historically hasn't happened. And, you know, I kind of expected them to show up this time around, and I voted. They didn't. It's okay. It is what it is.
You think that's real?
That people don't vote? Yeah, I mean, the numbers just don't support it. They didn't do it the last election either. And all
right, let me ask you this. Because so Mitt Romney, I just read an article with him last night when I was going to bed. Mitt Romney obviously hates President Trump, but he thinks he's going to win. And he one of the three reasons he thinks he's going to win is because of what you just said, is like, you know what? The opposition never shows up.
Yep.
But why? Like, this makes no sense to me on a logical perspective. Like, okay, you want this result. Why are you not going to do your part to make that happen?
So I'm going to say, and this is again, right, like my opinion, and based on like watching the last, I've been able to vote since I was, I'm gonna say 18, but like when I turned 18 was like the Obama election, right? So like that was
mine was Bush and
Gore.
Bush and Gore, and I ended up voting for Ralph Nader. Actually, I got so influenced in college the first time. I was like, "Oh yeah, I love Ralph Nader." Yeah.
I got to meet Ralph Nader. Did
you really?
He's a very nice guy. He wasn't lucid when we met, but he's a very nice guy.
All right, so there you go.
But yeah, I was at a book signing, very random. Yeah. But yeah, I don't think so. One, like disenfranchised voters is one thing, right? So you got a lot of voters that are like, I'm not going to vote. My vote doesn't count. And okay, cool, whatever. Like that's part of it. But also if you look at a lot of, I'm going to say, I don't want to use the word. I'm trying to think of how to word this. Let's just call it what it is, I guess, voter suppression, right? So like if you want to look at voter suppression, well, you have a lot of these fucking counties that are closing down. And this has been happening even since before now. But if you look at a lot of like poorer counties, right? So like urban areas, they have 1 or 2 polling places for like thousands and thousands of fucking people. And again, these people, going back to original, like previous conversations, right? Because this is a multifaceted fucking problem. Yeah. You have these people that are working 2 to 3 jobs. They aren't going to let them get off to go fucking vote. So they don't vote.
I feel like I think
it should be a holiday. Personally, I think it should be a paid fucking holiday.
Why the fuck? You know what? You want bipartisan support? You want bipartisan support? There's 2 things you'll have bipartisan support on this country: DACA and fucking making Election Day a fucking federal holiday. That's it.
So you know what? I don't think that they would get bipartisan support on that, because if they fucking could, they'd have done it already. I think the problem with it is that a lot of institutional Democrats and a lot of institutional Republicans don't want people showing up to the fucking polls. The same way they don't want them to have the time to research and pay attention to what the fuck's going on.
So I requested my absentee ballot because I'm still a registered voter in Florida.
Oh.
Do you know how I'm getting my absentee ballot and how I will submit it this year?
Pony Express? I don't know. Mosquitoes? You guys have a lot of those.
Email.
Oh, wow.
Wait, so let me ask you this. What was the big contention in 2016 that was... What happened? What supposedly happened during our election in 2016? Was it hacked?
Oh, you're talking about the hacking in Florida?
So hold on. So if I'm going to vote by email.
Yeah, it's way more secure. It'll be fine. It'll buff itself. I work in IT. This is fine.
So I had an opportunity, and I'm doing this on purpose because I had 2 choices. I could receive a paper ballot, or I could get one by email. And I was like, you know what? Fuck it. Let's go email. Let's just see what fucking happens.
Let's watch this ride.
Where's my lighter? Just let me let this fucking thing burn, because I can't imagine this is going to go well. Now, let's bring it to a serious thing, because what you said, it's not a holiday. There are the things that you described that I think those are very real. But what's going on in this country right now? You can't go anywhere. Can't do anything. And again, in many states, and some of the biggest states. So maybe not in North Carolina, but California, we can't fucking do anything right now or go anywhere.
Yeah, North Carolina is also a hot zone. People just are pretending like it isn't a thing.
Doing whatever. Yeah.
But yeah, for sure, right? So we're not supposed to congregate in large fucking groups.
But we're supposed to go vote.
But we're supposed to go vote, which is insane to me, right? Like there's no reason. They send us the fucking census every year via mail. Why the fuck can't we send in our ballots that way? Like I don't.
I'm with you, and then I think
there's very little evidence to show that it could be. I mean, we've been doing mail-in ballots forever. We do them overseas all the time when we're deployed.
Well, so that's a great point, because I brought that up initially, and a guy way smarter than me, he points out that that's such a small portion of the population, and they're completely regulated. And unfortunately, a lot of the times they don't even get counted, because they arrive way after.
Yeah, they get counted after the fact for sure, right? But that again,
because I felt like that's a good thing, but now let's forecast that out on a mass scale, and now you put the burden on the polling institutions, it becomes much higher. And that's why I said, like, look, why is it 2020 and the fucking voting, the national election day is not a fucking holiday? And if it's not going to be a holiday,
let's take Christopher Columbus Day and turn that into a fucking voting holiday. Can we do that instead?
But if it's not going to be a holiday, why is it during the week and not on a fucking Saturday? Right? Like, there's so many things that we could make this life, make it easier. Like, we go to vote. Does it really have to be what is it? Is it the second Tuesday in November? Is that how it works?
But if they make it easier, that means it's going to be harder for these fucking shitbags to keep their jobs in Washington.
Yeah, you're right. And I think we've seen a great display of that recently.
Yeah, and it's both sides, right? Like,
oh God.
Oh, my favorite 2020 Black Lives Matter shit show, like, activist thing that anybody did was like the congressmen with their fucking Wakanda outfits, like kneeling in the center of like the Capitol building or whatever the hell they were doing. Like, Nancy Pelosi, you take your wrinkly white ass back the fucking side and go write some fucking bills or something. Like, go do something else. Get the hell out of here.
It was bad.
Shut up. Like, what are you doing?
It was very bad. And you know what? It didn't even have the like, that's the other thing. I think everything's so performative at this point.
Performative activism. Yep.
It doesn't even mean anything anymore.
It doesn't. It's so, and again, right? Like, so that's a whole other issue with the whole cancel culture shit, right? Like, when do they actually mean an apology? But for me, unless you're actively coming out and saying, hey, I'm sorry that I voted for the bill passed during the Clinton administration.
The Brady bill?
If we are talking about, you know, the war on drugs and the 3 strikes laws, and I supported that, I'm fucking sorry. It was a huge mistake. Like, unless you're coming out and actually apologizing for the shit that you took part in because you were in Congress during this time, you voted for this shit, then shut the fuck up. And Biden was one of the fucking writers. So don't tell me that he's here for Black people or Hispanics. He doesn't give a shit.
Yeah.
Sorry, not sorry.
Okay, so that's all of these kids. So there's my question to you, right?
I don't have a candidate this year. I'm waiting to see who Biden's running mate is. And I'm waiting to
I think most people are.
That's it. Because he's not going to be running anything. That dude's.
Well, you know what? Joe Rogan pointed this out months ago, but you know, I don't say it like, I'm not happy to say it, but it's just honesty. Like, I can recognize it. Like, this man is not. I watched Joe Biden in 2012 during the VP debate against Paul Ryan absolutely fucking annihilate that man, to where I felt bad for Paul Ryan because Joe Biden was – I did. I still remember, like, it was 2000 – I remember clear as day. I was like, yo, I need to call 911 and report a murder because what Joe Biden did to Paul Ryan was embarrassing. And I was like, man, because I voted for Obama in 2008, and I was just looking for any reason not to vote for him in 2012. And then I was like, this is your VP? Joe Biden just embarrassed that motherfucker on national television, and I thought it was bad. And then I watch him now, and I'm like, that's not the same dude.
No.
And I feel bad because he's just too old. And you can't control it. Like, we don't know what age it strikes, but when that cognitive decline comes, there's no reversing it. And I feel bad because Joe Biden, he's not the one, and he's not there, but I still want to know how Democrats decided, hey, we hate President Trump. We have this mass unity against him. And you know what? We have to do everything we can to defeat him. And you know how we're going to do it? We're going to nominate Joe Biden. Really? That's what you...
Yeah, but I mean, the whole, like, and I've considered myself an independent since forever, right? And
I'm with you, man.
You know, they're the Democrats and the Republicans, they're fucking wings on the same bird. Yep. You know what I mean? Like, they all benefit. If you look at all of these pervasive and, like, fucked up laws, at the end of the day, all this does is provide job security, because they never actually solve any of the fucking problems we have. And it's always the same topics every election cycle. It's immigration, border security, the war on terror, abortion. Yeah, nailed it. Abortion. And, like, nothing ever happens on either side.
Nope.
Right? They just argue the same fucking tired talking points over and over again. And then They pat each other on the back behind closed doors and they say, all right, see you again in 4 years, buddy. Like, it's the same bullshit. It's awful. And the reason, and again, there was plenty of things that I didn't agree with Bernie Sanders on, right, on his progressive platform, but there are a lot of things that I did. And I looked into Bernie Sanders as a person, and if you dig into his life, if there's anything you can say about the man, is that he's consistent and he gives a shit about people.
Did you ever watch that Trevor Noah Daily Show thing when they released all his tapes?
About him getting arrested in college and shit?
Oh, no.
You're talking about the ones where he was talking to the kids. And he was like,
who here does cocaine? God, I love that. Like, my girl.
Yes, Grandpa.
The two of us. That shit is hilarious. Like, but though Trevor Noah's right. Like, Bernie Sanders has looked the same for like 40 years. Like,
yeah. Same, like, fucking Einstein, like Muppet hairdo.
Yeah. He looks like the guy from Back to the Future.
But that dude has consistently been on the right side of history on so many fucking issues.
I don't think it apply though, mainstream. That's the thing.
Well, the thing is, it's, you know, a progressive candidate or a candidate that's proposing shit like this just seems like so fucking far-fetched.
Yeah.
And the thing is, we see it work in other countries or even in like small communities like in the United States. Anybody who says that the military isn't a socialist institution is lying to themselves. Everybody across the same rank is paid the same.
Yeah, we talked about
We're all given the same outfit. We're all fed the same food.
Yeah.
We are all given the same health care. We are all, and there are definitely ways that it fails the system. And honestly, we see that a lot of the time when shit's privatized.
Yep.
I'm not gonna get into the whole of that, but you know, like, that's to say it doesn't work and it can't work on a larger scale. We see a lot of socialist institutions in public school, the police department, the fire department. We see it in public roads, libraries. Like, all of these things are paid for by the citizens. I personally just think that we should go a step further and more shit that should be paid for and supplied to the citizens with our taxpayer money. Nothing's free. Right? Everybody's like, oh, well, it's free college, free this, free that. It's not fucking free. I pay taxpayer money. I don't have kids. I don't plan to have kids. Kids are not for me. They're for some people. It's just not for me.
Right.
But I want my taxpayer money. Send all of my dollars to the fucking public schools in my areas. You know why? Because I don't like living with dummies. I don't want to run into your idiot kids at Walmart. Your kids should be able to fucking read. So take my dollars and teach your kids to read. Like, I don't give a shit what happens. Right? Invest in the infrastructure, invest in healthcare, invest in making our country as fucking awesome as it can be. But we just choose to spend our money on, you know.
Well, I think that's where that's the issue we run into, because that's the problem with all of these ideologies, whether it's Marxism, whether it's communism, or socialism, any ism, fascism, pick an ism. The problem lies at the individual who's going to implement it. And that's the X factor that you can never account for. Because we can say everything that you just said, like, hey, let's fucking do this. But somewhere, someone along that line is in charge of implementing it and executing it. And that's where every issue stems from in any system.
Yep.
Right? Look, my biggest thing at this point, I joined the United States Army specifically and dropped out of college and gave up a fleeting baseball career because of 9/11. That's the sole reason, right? I have been literally in Afghanistan my entire Army career. I've been in the Army 18 years. But you know what? Afghanistan was a great idea, horrible execution. And that's where it comes down to with anything, right? We can have great ideas. It's how it's going to be executed and implemented. And that's why I feel like those things, look, our last true enemy, if that's what you want to call it, was Russia during the Cold War. And we won that ideological battle because we realized that communism doesn't work when you take into the effect or the account of the individual who implements it. You get into corruption, you get into all those things. Do we have corruption in the United States? Abso-fucking-lutely. Let's not pretend that doesn't happen. However, it's very different when you're controlling everything, right? So while on the surface, there's nothing you say that I don't agree with. But it's just not realistic.
I think it is. I think, again, right, like the thing that we need, if we were going to immediately, if I was king for a day, queen for a day, whatever.
Queen, yeah. This is
whatever
queen
you
shit. I'm king shit, you're
whatever
queen
you
shit.
identify as. Queen, king for a day, right? I just give a shit about having a super sweet ass crown.
Fuck yeah. Speaking of which, we'll go into that next before we get out of here. Go ahead.
But I think if we were going to pump all of our dollars into anything, it needs to be revamping education, and not just for testing, like testing based, standards based education is a fucking waste of money and time for everybody. And basing teachers' merits off of student testing is ridiculous. And forcing all students to have the same fucking aptitude for certain subjects is ridiculous, right? Like, I was never going to be great at math. That's not my thing.
Me either.
You know, and yeah, it just is what it is. But like them forcing, like, you need to fucking go to algebra 30 times until you get it. Like, all right, guess what? Still don't get it. And I'm doing at 31, I'm doing okay.
Yeah.
Like, it's fine. Pythagorean's theorem's never done shit for me. Never once needed it climbing the ladder of success, right? But those are those things I don't think that we have enough investment in, I want to say, trades and in skill sets, right? We teach a lot of we put a lot of emphasis on just going to college in general, and we don't actually teach skill sets or even fucking educate people on the opportunities that they have anyway. Because again, you don't know what you don't know. If you watch your parents be raised as fucking coal workers their entire life, you don't understand that there's
a life outside of that.
There's a life outside of that. There's a fucking market for like, hey, we need engineers for solar power because coal's fucking dying. You know what I mean? Like, we need engineers over at Tesla to create these solar panels to do all this cool, sexy shit.
Tesla, right down the road from me.
Yeah, by the way, cars are flying. You want to be involved in that, kid? Here's a fucking scholarship for that, or here, learn coding. You know, all of these things are not opportunities that are really given across the board, and I think that they should be. One, because we need it as a culture. We need it as a country to stay relevant and competitive, because that's really where everybody else is going. Technology is the future, period. Like, bar none, no cap.
I would agree with you 100% on that, and this is what's weird, because I'm going to tie this back in before we move on out of this and into the last thing I want to kind of get your take on. Our number one competitor on everything, whether it's ideological, whether it's economical, whether it's from fucking a manufacturing perspective right now, is China. Mm-hmm. Period. And you know what? I have tried this, and it is fucking hard. It is very hard to support American only anything. It's just hard. A buddy of mine on Twitter the other day was like, hey, you know, our real enemy is China, and we're watching this, you know, genocide and all this shit with the Uyghurs take place, and we need to speak out and be on the right side of history again. And I replied simply with, you know what? That would be great, except everything we're going to use to write history, we're going to get from fucking China. So we have to realize, and it's ironic because you start looking at some of the recent ads coming from Joe Biden. He's literally repeating the fucking Trump campaign from 2016 by saying we need to do everything better and do it here in the United States. Well, Trump was a fucking racist apparently for wanting to do that in 2016, but now it's like, you know, we can co-opt that shit in 2020 because I don't know if we're either realizing that we need to reinvigorate the American independence or just the American manufacturing and all that shit, which is still limited because we outsource a lot of shit for everything that you said at the start of this fucking interview, right? Corporations are only going to do what's best for themselves, not for what's the little man, right? So let's bring it full circle, like you said, right? Because that's the reality. Because if we were about doing what's best for the United States, China and anybody else wouldn't be a fucking thought. Because we're 330 million strong, and yet while we're not number one in population, we are definitely number one in output and all that stuff. Now, if you could implore that with everything that we outsource, we'd be way above. Like a $14 trillion economic output for the year would be marginal. We'd probably do 20 or 22 million or 22 trillion. but we don't, because we outsource so much to China. And what China doesn't realize is if we turn off the faucet, what's China going to do? Who are they going to sell everything to? That's my thing. And that's why I tie into what you're originally saying, because you have great ideas. Like, trust me, like I would love for the next generation, my daughter, whoever the population that comes after her, I want them to be smarter than me. That's my, in my public education.
That's all we can hope for.
Right. And you know what?
That's all we can hope for.
I don't have a good hope. I don't.
I think
I'm
optimistic. I am gonna.
Not if we're doing shit by virtual.
It's a, you know what? It's gonna be a different kind of intelligence, I think, right? Because it depends on what you consider intelligence, or what you consider what you consider success. You get a lot of old school guys that are like, you get a lot of old school mentality that unless you're working with your hands, it's not a hard day's work.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean?
Well, I think mental work is way harder. If you can exhaust your brain, you'll be just as fucking tired at the end of the day.
Right. So so I work.
There's a lot of shit going on up here. It takes a lot of energy.
I'm telling you, sometimes I'll just sit there and like, I work in IT and I'll just be staring. I'll stare at a problem and I'll be like, I'd rather be outside. Fuck, I used to do nonprofit construction. So I did AmeriCorps before I joined the military. I used to do work with Habitat for Humanity.
Okay.
I'd rather be fucking putting trusses together in the middle of Biloxi, Mississippi than doing this shit. Yeah, this is terrible. Yeah. You know, but I think, you know, when it comes to China, when it comes to the way that global markets work. Now, we are so intertwined. Like, there's really no getting away from that, because we rely not just on China, but Vietnam, South America, Malaysia, the Philippines. Like, you look at all of these, you know, where do these things come from? Yeah. Tags are like manufactured in. And fun fact, the loophole made in America, all of the individual parts can be made in other countries, but as long as it was assembled in the United States, it can say made in America.
My Chevy Silverado is like that.
Made in America, right?
Mexico.
Which is completely disingenuous, right? It's bullshit. It's a
I was at Starbucks this morning and they got all the chairs upside down and I looked on the stools and it's
made in China.
No, Ukraine.
Oh, well, shit, there you go.
What are we doing? Ukraine?
Made in Ukraine. You know, and we're so intertwined with these other
globalization is real. It's not going anywhere. But
right.
We can do better, I think.
I think so too, but I think the thing that we need to focus on, right, again, for secondary, tertiary effects is education. Because at the end of the day, a lot of these countries that we do compete with economically, whose military we're also keeping an eye on. So economically and geopolitically, they are starting to very quickly outnumber us outperform us in education when it comes to math, science, and reading. Yeah. And that is going to be a fucking problem. I mean, you see it as a recruiter when it comes to education or kids' ASVAB scores, right? So their aptitude battery tests and their weight or their health.
It's all about region.
They're useless, right? They're not smart enough.
So to tie into that quickly, so it's very much, I've spent all my time recruiting or as a station commander in California, and it's all based on the school district. So where I was at previously, very well-financed, very affluent school district. If kids had an issue with the ASVAB, they could study and improve and be fine. Yeah. Now, the district I'm in, awful, underfunded, mostly not poor, but just on the lower end of the economic spectrum, right?
Yeah, and
this is it's a school district where the teachers just force these kids through. I've watched kids come in with transcripts with 3.8, 3.9 GPA, and they can't pass the fucking practice test to even go down and do the ASVAB, and they don't know how to study. Like if I was in that previous district, I could be like, hey man, study 2-3 weeks, come back, you'll probably double your score. And they would. This one, they don't improve. They don't know how to study. They've never been taught. They've just been moved along in the system.
Or taught to just regurgitate shit. They're not taught to
think
you know what
the
or
best
learn.
thing, you know what the best thing I've seen that this school district does that the other one didn't? The other school district takes away their phones for the day. Can't use them. You know what this school district does? These fuckers sit there and text throughout their tests. Yeah. So, you know, yeah, we're setting up our kids, unfortunately, for failure instead of success, like you said. But yeah, no, look, I get it. Education is still a big thing, but it's very discriminate in certain areas. Because I've seen it, and I've seen it in the state, in our union, who's probably the most well-intentioned, and that's California. But you know what? There are still very, very different outcomes for the population based on where they live.
So I went to three high schools growing up because my parents divorced. Well, because my parents divorced. Okay. My first year was in Las Vegas, Nevada. Horrible school district, Durango High School. You suck.
Nice. I think Marco Rubio went there, I think.
Ugh. Are you serious?
Yeah, well,
I don't know if you're being serious. God, it's a terrible school.
I am serious. His parents moved to Nevada when he was in high school. I think he went to high school before he went to Florida. He was a University of Florida guy. He was my senator. Like he's the guy I wanted to beat Trump. Didn't happen, but whatever. Anyway.
So let me get to Florida. So I went to Durango High School in Las Vegas, Nevada. I went to Troy High School in Fullerton, California. It's a really, really good school, good school district for public school. Like
Cal State Fullerton. I almost went and played baseball there.
Right next to Cal State Fullerton.
Almost went.
So that was a feeder school to that school, and then I graduated out of Homestead, Florida, which is
shit. I know Homestead. Yes.
The shithole. So
damn.
I got to see the spectrum of like the quality of education these kids got. And I'm gonna say these kids, I was one of them. I was really lucky that I had a pretty decent foundation.
Keep going.
I read a lot on my own. But I got to see this sort of broad spectrum of like what education means in these different places. And, you know, you have valedictorians in the school in Florida that like didn't understand like, I'm going to say basic, but like easy literature or easy concepts to grasp, like 1984 and, you know, A Midsummer Night's Dream, and they don't get it. Like the concepts are so outside of their grasp of understanding. And, you know, you have like these incredible mock debate teams in Fullerton, California. And then, you know, you put them against a mock debate team in like Homestead, Florida. And it's just not Fullerton, California and Homestead, Florida. It's just not the same because the level of education, the care and education, the types of teachers, the standards that they have are so fucking vastly different. You know, it's really heartbreaking. And I don't think a lot of people in this country know, especially if you stay in one place and you raise your kids in one place, you don't know how bad the quality of education is in some other places.
Yep.
So that's what I mean by like, you know, kind of just equalizing things across the board. And I guess that's a very socialist sort of point of view.
No, but you're right.
Can't, right? Because you have to believe in states' rights and the whole other thing. But I don't know. I mean, I feel like there's somebody much, much smarter out there, smarter than me, that has a solution to this problem.
Okay, look, we're already in the hour 2. This is gonna go 4 hours. But so no, you're right. But let me give you a perfect example. I was born in New Jersey. We moved.
Ew.
Hey, relax. We moved to Florida when I was 5. You know, and I have a cousin who's 3 weeks younger than me. Grew up and did all of her time in New Jersey.
New Jersey actually has a really good education system. I did not know this.
Exactly.
Really good education
system. That's where I'm going with this, because I remember and we mocked it when I was in high school. I was like, oh yeah, I'm graduating from fucking Poinciana High School in Kissimmee, Florida. And like, yeah, we're Florida, 49th in the country in education. Meanwhile, my cousin, you know, I got to go to college. All right, here, I'm gonna give you 2 stories. My cousin, the 3 weeks younger, who I grew up like a little sister to me, she way fucking smarter than me. She's a teacher now, actually. Way fucking smarter. When she went to like her SAT scores, everything, like fucking dwarfed me, right? I was able to qualify to get into college to play baseball. She was a college athlete as well as a softball player, but she was able to go to like a hard school to get into and also play sports, right?
Right.
New Jersey education. Yes, like you said, actually a great public education school system. But it's way fun. Like and it was weird because like, hold on, we're both 18. I don't know half the fucking shit you're talking about. Right. But you know what? When I went to school, you know what I did? I did enough. That's what I did. She felt like she had to work her ass off to graduate. All I had to do was show up. And I was an athlete. So when I got to college and I finally went back after I joined the Army, because I didn't even try when I went to college to play baseball. I was just like, I'm here to play baseball. I'm gonna be a pro athlete. Class? Yeah, I found out the hard way real quick. But then when I did go back, you talk about math and shit. Like, look, I was one of those kids. I had to buy the student manual to teach myself math in college because I had to take 2 college classes, both of them at the school I was going to at the time. One of the professors was from Vietnam, the other was from China, and the only fucking language those dudes spoke was math. They didn't know how to talk to me in English to teach me.
It's a universal language.
Exactly. And I was just out of luck. I was just like, man, I'm going to have to teach myself. And I did. And I taught myself. And I am proud to report that I got A's. But it wasn't because of my teachers. It's because I literally showed up 2 hours before class and went to the library and taught myself. But that's what I had to do. Most people don't have that.
Yep.
And I didn't have it when I initially went. I was just there. I was like, fast tracking to the major leagues, bro. Fuck this college class shit. I ain't got time for that. But anyway, all right. So let me move this along because like I said, I'm gonna have to probably coerce you to come back on because there's a lot. 2 things. Give me your prediction. What's gonna happen in November?
Ooh, I think Jo Jorgensen's probably going to take a larger chunk of the vote than I'm going to give her credit for. I think a lot of people are going to throw their vote this year.
You think it's going to take away from Biden or take away from Trump?
Oh, it's going to take away from Biden for sure. I think a lot of people that might have voted for Trump, it's really hard to kick out an incumbent when you have a bunch of stuff.
Yep.
Happening like we have happening right now, but this is sort of unprecedented, right? So,
that's
but I think I don't know, man. This year's a tough one to predict because we've kind of got like a shit sandwich versus like
I said nobody
diarrhea spaghetti. Like, which one do you want to? Which one seems more palatable?
Like, how's the seasoning?
Yeah. Oh, do I get a side? What's the side? And I think that's what we're all hoping with. Like, okay, what do I gonna wash this down with? So we're waiting to see like what Biden's running mate looks like. We already know Pence looks like the fucking, that. Oh God, what is it? Not Johnny Tsunami. It was like that fucking cartoon from Cartoon Network with like
Johnny Bravo.
Johnny, no, like the villain with the white hair. Wasn't?
Oh fuck, I don't remember.
You know what I'm talking about though.
Probably.
He looks like a fucking Cartoon Network villain.
But isn't it bad? Like, because I had my reservations about Pence when he was announced as his running mate, but remember the original coronavirus briefings? The only one that looked like the adult in the room was Pence. And I was just like, man, like.
I think that's just because he was the only one not saying anything stupid.
He was the only one that appeared empathetic and like you said, he wasn't saying anything stupid. I'm just like, is this so hard? Is it this hard? Can you just be like this? He can't do it.
I struggle with like the duality though. Like I feel like he has like his own Alzheimer's, right? Because he's like, oh, Black Lives Matter. I can't believe this is happening today. But then like he goes and makes this whole fucking show of like showing up to a football game, and as soon as Kaepernick kneels, he like, I'm out of here, like a fucking petulant child. Like,
I remember that. That was
whatever, dude. Like you literally wasted taxpayer money to come and like throw a temper tantrum. Do you, bro? Whatever.
Yeah.
And then like the coronavirus briefings, but then like he shows up to the hospital without a mask and he's like, I didn't know we have to wear one. What the fuck?
Well, I mean, fucking Dr. Fauci's out here throwing the first pitch out and he's up in the stands without his mask on.
I do this whole fucking thing. I'm just like, I can't with any of you right now. And the inconsistency of all of it.
All of it.
It's insane. And then, I don't know. I'm honestly, I think at this point this year, I wouldn't be surprised in this, knock on wood. I'm not wishing ill on anybody. I wouldn't be surprised if one of the fucking candidates catches coronavirus at this point and
yeah, I'm kind of surprised that hasn't happened.
I don't know, turns into a fucking X-Men. And
I mean, look at the fucking president of Brazil caught it for a second time. I think it was Brazil. I think he just caught it for a second time. That's the other thing that's out there is it's morphing and you may catch it more than once.
Yeah, that's what viruses fucking do. It's great that we haven't even tackled this one. We have no idea how it works. We have no idea how it really spreads. We don't really know its incubation period. Does it live on aluminum for 28 days? Is it coming in on your fucking FedEx box?
Hey, you know what? Let's just go fucking get it. Just like the flu. Let's just get it.
Bro, I'm like,
no?
The military injected me with so much shit at this point that
Have you ever looked at your shot record?
Have you got an anthrax shot?
I've got all 6 of the fucking
all of them.
Yeah, I've got them all. I got that shit in 2003 when it started.
And then the peanut butter shot in the ass with the fucking globulin or whatever.
My shot record is
pages.
I think the last I looked, I've got 41 different inoculations in my life, but whatever.
See,
that's the thing. That's why I'm not worried. None of this. I'm good. I can't be affected either way.
Oh yeah. If those chemicals fucking not reacting to each other reacting to each other didn't kill you, you're probably at this point superhuman.
Yeah, I'm good. I mean, at this point. All right, and then are you a Swiftie? Are you a Taylor Swift fan?
Oh, Tay-Tay? You know what? I wasn't before, but she's
new album last night at midnight. Did you listen?
I know. I haven't heard it yet. I've been reading about it. So look,
unbelievable.
The last 24 hours I have been, and this goes out to your listeners as well. I could use some help. I have some chickens coming in. I raised chickens.
What?
I've got another 20 chickens. Yeah, I raised Bantam chickens. I've got a couple right now, and I'm getting a couple.
What are those?
More. So it's like a weight class, right? And they're chickens that are no larger than 4 pounds. So they're mini chickens. They're adorable.
They're sweet.
The eggs are tiny. You need 15 of them to feed yourself for one breakfast, but they're cute, so it doesn't matter. So I'm getting another group of chickens coming in. My sister and I named all of these after wing sauces. So I have lemon pepper,
oh shit,
aioli, and honey mustard.
What about the there's one that Buffalo Wild Wings has. It's
we had ranch, we had blue cheese, but I gave
that's too predictable. It's this Asian zing.
That's too long.
Asian zing. That's the one you want.
Could you imagine me just screaming that in my backyard? Asian zing, come here.
Put that 9.
Come here.
Put that weapon down.
I'm already yelling at 4 dogs all day long. I can't just be screaming random
true.
But so now we've come up with I polled my friends and I was put it on Instagram and Facebook. Hey, I need you guys to give me rapper singer names. I'm naming my next batch of chickens after different groups or musical groups.
I did see that.
And we got so many funny responses. We're still short a few, but Metallica-doodle-doo is probably one of my favorites. 3 chicks.
I mean, Iron Maiden, right? You got Iron Chicken, Iron.
That's got to be a really punny, we've got some really good play on words.
All right. I'm going to get involved.
Work on it.
Yeah, I'm going to get involved. I'm going to get involved in this tonight. All right. So you still didn't really give us a prediction, though. Who's winning? Who's going to be president when we wake up on November 9th?
Oof.
I think it's November 9th. Let me consult the calendar.
Mike Pence.
Hey, you know what? Yeah, November 10th. No, November 11th. Wait, is the election the 3rd or the 10th this year? I think it's the 3rd. All right. Anyway, you think Mike Pence, and you know what? You know why I won't discount that is because one of the things I do on this show or just in general on Twitter is gambling and the odds and analysis. And then I make a lot of predictions. Mainly football season. I do a lot of predictions, but I do the UFC as well. But I do pay attention to political things. And this is why I was able to capitalize on Donald Trump in 2016 is because I watched the odds shift quickly towards the run up. And it was all going away from Clinton. And I was just like, fuck it. He's still here. I don't know how. But I'm going to pay attention to people who know more than me, right? That's my thing with sports betting. And Pence he's not that far of a long shot when it comes to the Republican nominee.
I don't think Trump wants to win.
I don't either.
I don't think he wants to. Yeah, and I agree with you. I don't think he wants to win.
No, he never thought he was going to win the first time, I don't think. I think he did it all for not political, but he did it for popularity.
But if you look at Pence, he has a really strong family tie with the Koch brothers. And that goes way back. I don't know, man. I kind of think that this has been like a setup for Pence. That's my prediction. This is my tin. This is me and my tinfoil.
I think if it was I'm all about the tinfoil hat. I think if it was Pence, I think he would have a harder time winning against Biden than Trump.
Why? He can formulate whole sentences.
No, he can. But are we gonna get that opportunity to showcase that? Are we even gonna get an actual debate this year?
I mean, we're not. Over Zoom, maybe it'll be a Zoom debate.
Because if it was Trump, if it was Pence versus anybody, like you put Pence against Trump, you'd be like, all right, I want Pence because that guy can speak a full sentence. You may not agree with the man. Like he's got a lot of views that I think most Americans aren't in line with, but he's an adult. He sounds like an adult and he comes across empathetic and he can formulate full sentences.
Okay.
Neither of our two candidates currently can do.
Do you want like angry, creepy grandpa, or do you want like senile grandpa, or like the two options between Pence and Trump?
Yeah, let me give you this analogy, and this is what's great. So my dad is he loves Trump. He's a huge fucking Republican guy or whatever, and he was always a Democrat before he moved from New Jersey to Florida. So I told you we moved to Florida when I was 5. I think my dad was probably like my age, 38, 39 when he moved, and then that's when his political things shifted because you grow up in New Jersey. You are a product of where you come from for the most part, I think. And he's all about supporting Trump or whatever. And my brother and I were at this point, my brother's definitely an independent, but we lean conservative. And I've kind of got to where you are. Like I'm like this side or this side, that doesn't define me anymore. I'm an independent. You know what I mean? Like, do I lean more conservative? Yeah, you know that, right? So.
Depends on the issue. It depends on the issue.
It does. It depends on the issue.
I'm a gun-toting liberal, as I like to say.
That is true.
So I'm a gun-toting liberal.
I want everyone to hear this. I know it took 2 hours and 27 minutes, but she's very Second Amendment. Right? So, but my thing is, it comes down to how you conduct yourself.
Agreed.
Okay, and now. My position in the military. My brother, is a manager of a business. And I said to my dad, this was a few months ago, I'm like, look, let's just put it out there like this. Do you want myself and my brother, your sons, conducting ourselves in our job like this guy does?
I like that.
That's what I said. And you know what he said? Well, no, I don't want that. And I'm like, so you're trying to tell me the standards you have for your sons and our everyday life is somehow lower than what you have for the fucking president of the United States. And that's my point. That is my point. Now, I'm not saying that dictates how I vote. I'm just saying, remember this as you go forward. Your standard for how you want your kids to act, or you yourself, should probably align with how you want the fucking leader of your country. And I don't think that's a lot to ask, because I'm sorry, I can respect what the man does behind the scenes, and I can disrespect that at the same time. I had a lot of issues with President Obama, but when the man stood up in front of the mic, that's what I want someone to be like.
Yeah.
I may disagree with him on everything else.
What is it that they tell us in the military? Respect the rank. You don't have to respect the person.
You don't have to respect the man. Right? Exactly.
You don't have to respect the man. I don't respect the man, but I respect the position. Right. I respect and love. Tying it around, I fucking love this country. I'm an American through and through. Yep. I was born and raised here.
I know you are.
I've served and worked in the government for the better part of the last 11 years. I don't know anything else. And I don't want to know anything else. I've had the opportunity to travel. I've traveled all over the world. I've been to dozens of countries. I've had a very charmed and very blessed life. But this is home, you know what I mean? This is it, and this is worth fucking fighting for. And me personally, I I'm hoping after November, I hope we see some positive change. That's what I'm hoping for. I don't give a shit what color the fucking t-shirt is. I don't care what color the skin is. I don't care what gender they are. I don't give a shit as long as it's the right person for the job and that person's genuinely interested and has a vested stake in what the fuck is going on here. And not for their buddies at fucking Washington, and not for the people in the, not the lobbyists and all of the fucking corporations. Fuck those guys. I want to know what's going to happen for you, for your daughter, for the fucking following generations, for my dogs.
Yes,
what's going to happen to them if I go?
Lives matter.
Dogs' lives,
Yeah, that's it. I think that's perfect. I think that's a perfect way to surmise it and a perfect way to end it. And as this progresses and hopefully doesn't die, but I would love to actually get you back on probably after November and kind of, let's kind of drop in there and kind of see where we're at that point. But no, I do appreciate everything you put forward tonight. And I thank you for being a friend throughout all of our disagreements over the years. I'm glad we've managed to keep it together, but I'm sure you understand that I respect everything and where you come from. And I did learn a lot more about you tonight. And I hope anyone who actually listens to this, I'm not trying to get you to think one way or the other. I just want you to realize that there are people out there like Veronika who may think differently than you, and you should respect where they come from. You should respect why they think the way they do, and you should listen to it more importantly.
So, you can still be friends with people with different opinions.
Imagine fucking that. You don't have to think alike to be friends.
It's true.
Veronika, thank you, and we'll talk again soon, I hope.
All right, Eric. Bye.
Airborne out.